and on the ESPN app.
1410 WING AM.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.
We are Dayton's ESPN radio station. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 WING AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the WING studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 WING AM. Happy Thursday. We got a jam-packed 3-hour show coming your way. Excited to be joined coming up here momentarily. Top of the hour, 4 o'clock, an hour from now. Joe Paterno, the son of Joe Paterno. He was on Penn State's coaching staff for over 17 seasons, and he's going to come on and talk to us about the build-up to Ohio State, Penn State coming up on Saturday night. And, of course, he's going to share some of his fondest memories of, well, Ohio State week. Keep in mind, Penn State treats this week the way we treat Michigan week. And this is a big week for Penn State, again, especially coming off of that tough loss that they had at the hands of Indiana in their opening week matchup. And that's what we're going to open up with, talking a little college football. We got plenty of college basketball coming your way as well. Tonight we debut a new show, Talking Out Loud, Dayton Flyers basketball, hosted by Sully. Talking Out Loud, hosted by Sully. It'll debut coming up later on tonight, immediately following our show. And Brooks Hall will be Sully's guest tonight. And I'm excited to bring that show to you guys here coming up later on tonight. Sully does a fantastic job, and we're excited to be partnering with him to be bringing you Talking Out Loud Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. All right, let's open it up. 457-9464. That's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. Plus, we are live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. And buckle up and let's go and let's get started, shall we? Ohio State, Penn State coming up this Saturday night. And I tell you what, I mean, for one, this matchup is always an interesting one to me, mainly just because I know we like to focus so much on Ohio State and that team up north. I mean, that's the rival, right? Ohio State, Michigan, that's the team. It doesn't matter how good Michigan is, how bad they are. It doesn't matter that Ohio State has won for 30 straight years now, right? Like, exaggerating, of course. None of that matters. I still think that anytime you have a rivalry, that there always needs to be that, competitive nature to it, that there still needs to be some kind of competitiveness within the rivalry. And that has not been the case for quite some time for Ohio State and that team up north. But again, I'm never going to try and win that argument again. I've tried to tell people that it's not, because it is a rivalry. But it doesn't always mean that it's the freshest one out there, because right now it's stale. And until that team up north, beats Ohio State and, knocks Ohio State out of playoff contention, or just takes something away from the Buckeyes, or, Michigan getting into the playoff themselves, this rivalry, I don't know. It's just tradition, I guess. That's where it stops. If you want to use the word tradition, fine. But Penn State's always the team that when that schedule comes out every year, of course, for one, that's really dumb of me to say, because we always know where that team up north is going to be. We know. I don't have to go look at the schedule and find where they're going to be. We know where they're going to be at on the schedule, but I really just don't. Michigan doesn't bother me. They don't worry me. I don't look for them on the schedule, mainly because I know where they're going to be, yes. But secondly, because I can't remember the last time we headed into a season where I was like, oh, man, we got to be careful for Michigan this year. Oh, man, Michigan says this is their year. Oh, man, the Michigan fans we work with, they're constantly saying this is their year. Nah, I'm good. We're good. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about Penn State. I worry about Penn State every year. Even on the years where I'm like, I know Ohio State is head and shoulders better than the Big Ten, I still worry about Penn State. I still look at Penn State as the biggest threat to the Buckeyes every single season, and I don't think that's a secret to anybody as far as that is concerned. Ohio State is up, and again, in the 34 times that these two teams have played, Ohio State has won 20 of them. Of the last of those 34 matchups, though, 14 of those matchups have ended with, by one touchdown or less. 5 of the last 7 have ended by a touchdown or less. Ohio State's won 3 straight. Penn State is constantly that thorn in the side of the Buckeyes. You saw how good Ohio State was last year. You saw how dominant they were. And, maybe that official doesn't overturn that call and the direction of the game just continues to go in favor of Ohio State. Clemson doesn't beat Ohio State last year in the eyes of most if it wasn't for that official. Ohio State was a national championship worthy team. We all know that. And yet outside of Clemson, the only team that really was a threat to Ohio State last year was Penn State. And that's the case every year. It's the case this year. It's the case 2 nights from now. Saturday night, primetime, Ohio State, Penn State. Penn State coming off a loss against Indiana. They were upset. We shouldn't be surprised that there was an upset in the Big Ten. I'm just glad it wasn't Ohio State. We've been watching teams around college football in this very wonky 2020 college football season. We've seen teams not look as sharp as what they should be. However, the teams you expect to look sharp, like the Ohio States, like the Clemsons, like the Alabamas, those teams look okay. Even when Clemson doesn't look okay, they're okay. Even when Alabama doesn't look okay, they're okay. Same thing for Ohio State this past weekend. Some Buckeye fans weren't comfortable with how Ohio State looked in the first half. I was fine. I was comfortable. I enjoyed that it was a close game. I enjoyed, at least in the first half, I enjoyed that Nebraska put up a little fight. I enjoyed that Nebraska was physical. I enjoyed that. I don't enjoy watching conference games where I'm watching Ohio State opponents and I'm like, man, this is it. We make fun of other conferences. We like to knock on the ACC. We like to talk about how bad they are. Some weeks we try to be cute and say that we're better than the SEC. Newsflash, the Big Ten's not better than the SEC. But more weeks than not, I'm watching Ohio State go up against opponent after opponent after opponent, and I'm like, this is the best that the Big Ten has to offer. That's frustrating to me. But good for Nebraska last week for putting up a little bit of a push for Ohio State in that first half. And I know Indiana knocking off Penn State. Penn State, let's be clear here. Losing 2 straight to start the season. Ohio State and Penn State were the 2 top teams in the Big Ten. In fact, when you talk about the Big Ten potentially getting 2 teams in the college football playoff, Penn State, Ohio State, 2 of the top odds to make that happen. Penn State just screwed all that up. And Wisconsin was the next team in the Big Ten that had the highest % chances of making it into the college football playoff, mainly because they don't run into Ohio State, or at least they wouldn't until the Big Ten title game at the end. Wisconsin would have a shot. They basically would just have to play a playoff game to get into the playoff if they wanted a shot to get in as far as that's concerned. But Ohio State, Penn State coming up this weekend. And as we talked about, I told you yesterday, and again, Kev and I, everyone was saying, we're being too negative. We're being too negative when it comes to Ohio State and their matchup with Nebraska this past weekend. If I was to nitpick anything about this past weekend, mainly it had a lot to do with the fact that I saw something very JT Barrett-esque. And you're probably saying, well, what does that even mean, JT Barrett-esque? What do you even mean by JT Barrett-esque? JT Barrett-esque, what I mean by that is one of the biggest things I was so frustrated with about the Buckeyes during the JT Barrett era is when you had dominant running backs like a Zeke Elliott. Even, at the beginning when you were splitting carries between Weber and J.K. Dobbins and others, I was always frustrated when you would look at the box score and see that, hey, you want your quarterback to stay healthy. You want him to stay upright. Why is he running the ball more than the running backs? I look at Ohio State's running Sunday. Justin Fields, 15 carries, 54 yards and a touchdown. Now, we all know what Justin Fields brings to the table. We know he's capable of making plays with his legs, and we know that's the whole purpose of all of this to begin with. But what I don't like is when I look at, and all I hear about is how great of a pickup Trey Sermon was from Oklahoma. And we were fortunate that, with all the negativity that has surrounded the delay to the college football season due to the coronavirus, the only silver lining about that is that it gave Master Teague more time to heal up. So now, heading into the season, you weren't expected to have a healthy Master Teague. Trey Sermon was supposed to be the feature back. He was supposed to be the only guy that you were going to rely on as far as getting the majority of the carries. Now that's not the case. In fact, Master Teague, completely healthy, he had the second most carries on the night with 12 this past Saturday afternoon against Nebraska. Trey Sermon had 11. So you have Trey Sermon, who Buckeye fans went nuts over whenever it was announced that he was transferring to Ohio State. I thought it was a great transfer as well, mainly because at the time, although when they started recruiting him, Master Teague was not out with the season ending, or at least a big-time injury to where he was going to miss a good chunk of the beginning of the season. So being without Master Teague heading in is what we thought. Having Trey Sermon was going to be huge. But now you have Trey Sermon and Master Teague, and yet Justin Fields still had more carries than Trey Sermon and Master Teague. That can't happen. That can't happen. Ohio State, their strength is their quarterback. It's that quarterback play, of course. We know that. Keeping him healthy is key. Who's going to be that second string quarterback that comes in? Is it Gunnar Hoke? Are we going to look at Gunnar Hoke and expect him to come in and pull a Cardale Jones, or hell, to pull a J.T. Barrett? I guess J.T. Barrett replaced Braxton Miller. Cardale Jones replaced J.T. Barrett. Are we going to see that again? I wouldn't put stock in the backup quarterback from Kentucky taking over for Justin Fields and just picking up where Justin Fields left off. I don't know. Now you're going to talk about, of course, their star freshman quarterbacks. You're going to take a look at Jack Miller, who, of course, got some playing time this past Saturday against Nebraska. I bring up Jack Miller mainly because I hear a lot of people say, well, that's not fair to expect him to come in and just, take over. If something happens to Justin Fields, is it fair to expect Jack Miller just to step out on the field and take over? Well, I put Ohio State in a category with Alabama. I put Ohio State in a category with Clemson. And those are two programs who are constantly in the college football playoff and who are basically regulars in the national title game. That's not the case for Ohio State, although they did win the first ever national championship game in the inaugural college football playoff. But is it fair to expect, if something happens to Justin Fields, is it fair to expect Jack Miller to come in and be the guy? You have Gunnar Hoke, fine. Is he going to be the guy? I'm not going to feel good about it. Some are like, I'll feel better about a guy who has experience in Gunnar Hoke than I would about a Jack Miller or any of the other, talented young freshman quarterbacks that they have. But keep in mind, we saw Nick Saban go to Tua Tagovailoa as a freshman at halftime of a national championship game. And you're asking me, is it fair to expect Ohio State, who we put on the same level as them, is it fair to expect a Jack Miller to come in and pick up where Justin Fields would leave off if something unfortunate would happen to him, whether it's injury or what we've seen COVID, how it's already impacted the Big Ten season? Is it fair to expect Jack Miller to be able to pull that off? CJ Stroud, those guys. Is it fair? Well, let's take a look at Clemson. All right, you look at Deshaun Watson. He leaves. Kelly Bryant, he's the guy for a little bit. He's good. He's solid. Clemson looks okay with him. But Dabo Swinney knew, hey, we have this guy named Trevor Lawrence over here. He's pretty good. We're going to go to him. He's a true freshman. Oh, yeah, he won him a national championship. So when people say that, no, it's not fair to expect the freshman, if something happened to Justin Fields, to come in and perform right away, I think it's very fair. I think it's extremely fair. If Ohio State's on the same level as a Clemson or an Alabama, who have gone to their freshman quarterbacks, they're super talented freshman quarterbacks, and have just picked up where they left off, to me, I think it's very fair. I think it's beyond fair. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not wishing anything bad to happen to Justin Fields, but, I was questioning this past weekend in a blowout game. And again, we talked about this yesterday. Kevin and I did, and Kevin will be joining us coming up here in a little bit. But we talked about this earlier in the week about the one thing that really stood out to me about that Ohio State-Nebraska game was that the only quarterback for Ohio State to even attempt to pass was Justin Fields, which is fine. He's your guy. But you should always be prepared for if something happens to your starting quarterback. And that's on a normal season when injuries are part of the equation. Now injuries are always a part of the equation, unfortunately, but what's also part of the equation is the coronavirus. Now take a look at what's happening with Wisconsin. They started the season with Mertz, who, of course, technically is not the original starting quarterback. The original starting quarterback is out and injured, so Mertz is technically the backup, but the starter to start the season, he goes out. His backup, technically the third-string quarterback, also tests positive for the coronavirus, so he's out for the next however many weeks. So now Wisconsin doesn't have any quarterbacks. So you have to be prepared. You always have to be ready to have that next man up mentality. I know that sounds so generic, so cliche. I hate when people do that, but it's true. And for Ohio State to be blowing out Nebraska, my only complaint about Ryan Day is that why would you not get your quarterbacks time out on the field? And I'm not talking about Jack Miller, who was on the field, but he just ran. No pass attempts. That can't happen. You got to make sure these kids are ready. And I'm sure they're probably getting, time in practice, but there's a big difference between going up, against guys half speed in practice and actually going up against live competition, even if it is the talent of a Rutgers or a Maryland come the month of November. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, live on Facebook as well. I'm curious your thoughts on that too. Again, I'm not bashing Ryan Day. I'm concerned. After watching what I've seen from Wisconsin, I really don't want to see that happen to Ohio State. None of us do. But when you start thinking about, oh man, what if Ohio State was in the situation that Wisconsin was in? What would Ohio State look like? What kind of situation would they be in? I think they'd be in trouble. I don't think they should be in trouble. I think you should have confidence that a freshman quarterback, even though he's a freshman, should come in and do his thing. Tua Tagovailoa did it for Alabama. Trevor Lawrence did it for Clemson. And those two programs are the same category of teams that I would put Ohio State in. So I think it's fair to expect that. 457-9464. Matt Sturgeon says, what about Joe Burrow? You know what? At Ohio, Matt, it's funny you say that too, because in all seriousness about Joe Burrow, that is still, when you think about his timeline, it's the strangest timeline I can ever imagine. Like, we know he was good throughout his entire college career, but there was obviously something that was holding him back, that wasn't catching the coaching staff's attention, that made them feel comfortable to pick him over, obviously, Dwayne Haskins and, Cardell Joe, those guys back in the day. And then he goes to LSU. Looks very average his very first year. Now, like, with as good as Joe Burrow looks like even right now in the NFL, you would think that even with a boob of a play caller, that Burrow's talent would still shine. And it really didn't. Like, he looked very average his very first year at LSU. And he was even graded as like a fifth round quarterback at last year's draft heading into last season. He went from being graded as a fifth-round draft pick heading into last NFL season to being the number one overall pick, Heisman-winning national championship, Heisman-winning trophy winner, right? Like, it's one of the strangest buildups in a career I can think of, especially in football. And I will say this too. I compared, like, from the college football side of things, who was the Joe Burrow of college basketball. To me, that was Obi Toppin last year. If I'm going to make that kind of crossover, it's true. If you look at Obi Toppin, had a very good first year. I mean, he had to sit out, of course, with the Flyers the first year, but then last year, 2 years ago, looked very good. Freak athlete, very capable. There was expectations that he could potentially be drafted the next season, a second rounder. And the next thing not only, the jump that he made from 1 year to the next is very Joe Burrow-esque, in my opinion. It's crazy. I mean, it's a weird crossover. I know it's a weird comparison, but it's true. I think both of them have very similar parallels. Like, no one was talking about, Obi Toppin being a top 5 NBA draft pick a year and a half ago. Now, we're trying to convince ourselves, well, why can't he be the number one overall pick? You keep reading all these draft reports out there, and every single one of them are like, Obi Toppin, he's being considered by every team at the top. You look at the Golden State Warriors, you look at those teams who are sitting there right at the top. Every single one of them have Obi on their radar. And this is a guy 2 years ago we were hoping that, well, maybe if he gets a 3-point shot, he'll be good enough to be drafted, maybe late first, early second. Now he could potentially go anywhere between 1 and 5. And that reminds me of what happened with Joe Burrow, a guy that was graded to be a fifth-round NFL draft pick, and the next thing you know, he just totally blows up, and he's the number one overall pick. Hey, great take. Matt Sturgeon says, great take, go fly. Matt, I was able to get you to say great take. You dribble and you shoot and you hope for the best. All right, folks, 457-9464. It's the Justin Kinner Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're going to step away for a few moments. When we come back, we'll talk a little NFL, take a look at some of the top matchups in the NFL coming up this weekend. We got plenty of college basketball talk coming your way, too, later on in the show. Sully from Talking Out Loud. Again, we're going to debut that podcast coming up later on tonight. We're going to hear from former Dayton Flyer, which we're excited about that too. Again, bringing that Brooks Hall. He's going to join the show. So that's all coming up around the corner. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with rain, a high near 48. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 38. And tomorrow is going to be mostly cloudy with a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Making it easier for you to get the frickin' chicken. Remember Frickers.com. That puts you in touch with everything you crave. Frickin' chicken wings, burgers, ribs, salads, wraps, everything you crave. Should you crave an ice-cold domestic draft beer? Join us and dine in. We have a 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6. Dine in, carry out, delivery, and now order online at Frickers.com. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits is the home to order online at Frickers.com.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for a pivotal role at her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology identifies the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Monica did, and that's how she found Lamont, her new project superintendent.
The job is so perfect for me. I had a career breakthrough. I would have never found this job if it wasn't for ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Do you have foot pain? Did you know foot pain is not normal, regardless of your age, activities, or job? Podiatric physicians are the most qualified doctors to care for your feet based on their education, training, and experience. Your podiatrist can provide you with important foot care solutions like shoe inserts, so you're able to better manage foot pain. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association podiatric physicians are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality foot and ankle care. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association members are bound by the highest ethical standards and have access to superior ongoing medical education and resources. Ask if your podiatrist is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association so you know you are being treated by the very best. After all, we've been serving the profession and the public for over 100 years. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Yeah, sure, the players bring some skill to the game, but if I don't put them in my lineup, who cares? Not me. I'm Eric Rubino, fantasy baseball GM and league runner-up 2 of the last 9 years. I use the progressive Name Your Price tool with options based on my budget. And for a guy that's used to being in control, it fits. Like this runner-up t-shirt. Champ gets a trophy, but you can't wear a trophy. Boom.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Assurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Now at Menards, save big money in your next project with 11% off everything. Enchanted Gardens Black Oil Sunflower Seed is a perfect feed that's perfect for attracting a wide variety of birds. Right now, get a 50-pound bag for just $18.49 after 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything right now at Menards. Good through Saturday, October 31st. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? If you're looking for new headlights and wipers, we recommend replacing in pairs. That way you'll have better visibility, especially with the weather changing. And there's no better time to do the job than during our first ever visibility event, October 25th to November 1st, where AutoZone Rewards members can get a $25 bonus reward when they buy 2 select Sylvania headlights and 2 Rain-X wiper blades. Restrictions apply. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
What does my family think about stiff and uncomfortable shoes?
Ew.
That's going to be a no from me.
Forget about it.
And that's why we wear Skechers Stretch Fit shoes. Because Skechers Stretch Fit are made from a breathable, soft knit that stretches and moves with you, giving you a comfortable, perfect fit with every step. And not only do Stretch Fit comfortably hug your feet, but they also have Skechers' famous air-cooled memory foam. Plus, they're machine washable and they're affordable. Find styles for men, women, and kids at a Skechers store near you, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Before your next flooring job, make Lowe's your first stop. See the latest styles in our new flooring showroom. We carry more tile, more vinyl, more laminate and hardwood than ever before. Whatever you need, we have the job lot quantities you expect at bulk pricing to save you money. Shop in store or online at lowesforpros.com. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Our pro team can help you get the job done right and on time. It's just one more reason why Lowe's is the new home for pros. U.S. only.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents. And Doug.
Limu, I love how we're always looking out for each other. Kind of like how Liberty Mutual looks out for you by customizing your home insurance. So you only pay for what you need.
Limu, why didn't you tell me about the uncovered manhole? I was literally just telling you. Limu, I had no idea you could swim.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Dell Technologies advisors listen to your small business needs so they can provide you with tailored solutions powered by Intel vPro platform. Call today at 877-ASK-DELL.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you want to talk about outliers? Those guys are outliers. You're lucky that this thing's separating us. That's all I got to say. Or facts, though. I got your facts right here.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook to follow along. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, let's go to the phone to bring on our guest. We have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Jason, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, but if you think Cleveland's going to start off 6-2, that means they're going to have to beat my beloved Raiders. So we got beef right out of the gate. Come on now.
I was going to say I don't know how friendly of a conversation this will be come next Tuesday. We'll figure that out. But I want to open up with we'll get to that Browns Raiders preview in a moment. But Browns Bengals over the weekend, of course. I mean, how fun was that? Burrow versus Baker. But of course, the big narrative out of that was OBJ going out and how different Baker looked in the final three quarters. And to be fair to Kev has been saying this, that OBJ has been the problem without being the problem. Well, when you think of OBJ being the problem, you think of his antics with other teams. It's just him and Baker have not meshed. But I'm curious your thoughts, Jason. The last three quarters against the Bengals, was the success of Baker due to no OBJ, or was it just chalked up to, it's just the Bengals, who cares?
Well, I don't think it's as simple as just the Bengals. I think there's probably a little bit of mix of both. But I think as much as we're putting the emphasis on Baker in that moment, let's also at least talk a little bit about the play calling and how it changes. Like when you lose somebody like Odell Beckham Jr., it forces or allows, depends on your perspective on it, you to be a little bit more diverse in your play calling. I mean, when you there is a real portion of play calling that is about keeping certain guys engaged in the game and making sure that you're getting them the touches they need without that pressure on trying to feed the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. I think that it sort of allows the whole team to approach the way they're calling the game differently too. So I don't buy that Odell Beckham Jr. is hurting the Browns, but I do buy that there is some level of not having Odell Beckham Jr. on there, whether it's from the play calling or whether it's from the quarterback just not feeling this innate pressure to only look at him. It allows sort of more options in their passing game. And look, guys, it is going to continue, and I know we'll talk about it, but the Raiders' pass defense is atrocious, so Baker should be able to have some success there.
I don't need the Bengals fans around here having any fuel to discredit anything Baker does, but you bring up a valid point. Quick question, though, last thing about the Baker-OBJ thing. If the Browns go on again, they were playing well even with Baker, let's be real. I mean, I know everyone wants to look at that Steelers game and just totally forget that where they were heading into it, but moving forward, if Baker all of a sudden comes out of his struggles and he ends up looking like he did last night, has OBJ played the last game in Cleveland if that's the case?
I mean, there's an element here where the contract has to matter too, right? Like they have so much money invested in Odell Beckham Jr., and that money is going to convert over to guarantees in March, I believe it is, and he won't be healthy by then. So they can't cut him. You can't cut or trade a player that's still hurt, right? So because of that, I think about $13 million of it will be guaranteed by the time they can do anything with him. So a team would have to decide to trade for him and take on that money, which I think is probably pretty far-fetched, or they'd have to cut him, and that would result in such a dead cap hit. I just can't see it happening. Like Odell Beckham Jr. right now for the Browns is a little like Kirk Cousins for the Vikings. It doesn't matter if they're in love or not. They're contractually obligated to hang out with each other for at least another full year.
I want to attack this Bengals-Browns game from the Bengals perspective. Everything that they've been doing this season, I've been a proponent of. Their record will probably be the exact same as it was last year, but they'll be a better team. And they've been in every game outside of that Ravens game. What can they do to get themselves over the hump to start getting some W's?
Well, I think part of that has been, we just talked about play calling for one side. I think the play calling on the other side has got to get a little bit more balanced. I think one of the things that you look at for Burrow, and we sort of laughed about how much he's throwing the ball because he's capable of it, and I believe he's, an incredibly good quarterback. I think he's going to have the opportunity to be special, but realistically, they've got to find a little bit more balance in their play calling. When they do that, it seems to help them as an offense. And then the other part of it is what we all know is their offensive line hasn't been particularly good. Now, I love the narrative that, the Bengals just need to shore up the offensive line, which forgets that they've tried to do that. The Bengals have drafted, they've spent money. Certain teams are not good at evaluating certain positions, and I would put the Bengals in that category when it comes to offensive line play. So they're going to have to figure that out long term so that Burrow doesn't get murdered back there, the amount they've got him throwing. But I think balance is one of the keys that's sort of been forgotten at times because he's so special. And if they can get more balance out of him, I believe that they can be a much better team.
And what's your mindset on it? And mine is always this: like, we can use excuses like the defense isn't good and the offensive line is bad. But if you're in games, if you're good enough to be in games, you have to be held responsible enough to be expected to win some of those. Like, you're not going to win every one. I get it. There are enough flaws to be, put you behind the 8 ball a little bit. But you're 1-5-1, and you've been in every game except for one. There has to come a point where it's like, we can't just look at them as, they're just a rebuilding Bengals. If you're good enough to be in games, if you're good enough to brag about Joe Burrow throwing for 300+ yards, how many games now, and 400 last. If you're good enough to do all of those things, you're clearly good enough within games in certain aspects to overcome a lot of those. You should be expected to win some of those too. They should not be 1-5-1.
Well, I agree with that, but I'll counter that with the Falcons. And, I love this FBI win predictor. Now, I have no idea how we figure these things out. But the win predictor for the Falcons had them at 99.9% against the Cowboys. They lost. 99.6% against the Bears. They lost. And then 96% against the Lions, all late in the fourth quarter. And they lost all these games. Like, there just seems to be, I think one of the issues for some teams is that, as oversimplified as it is certain teams just find ways to lose games, right? So that's part of the cultural shift that has to come in. But I think the other frustrating part, if you're a Bengals fan, is you can look at each game and there's not one play or player that continually bites them in the butt. It's like they're passing the hot potato of just forgetting the moment or how to football in the moment from one guy to the next. And there's not an easy solution to that. They've got to find a way, to your point. I think if they could win one of those games, it gets enough of the monkey off their back that it can sort of relax. I've always been bothered by the concept of needing to find a way to, like, you got to learn how to win close games. Like, these are all elite athletes. They know how to win close games. But that is still true in many locker rooms. Like, they just got to find a way to get over the hump, and then they have that belief.
After getting off to a hot start, the Patriots are now 2-4. They got thrashed by the 49ers on Saturday. What is up with Cam?
Yeah, he doesn't look right. And, one of the things I talked to on the show last night with Sarah, we talked a little bit about this. I don't want to use COVID as an excuse, but I think it needs to be part of the conversation here. Ever since he's come back from COVID, he's looked much different. And for everybody, that hits everybody differently. So I don't know, and I'm not sure we'll ever know how great he's feeling, but you're 1,000% right that Cam doesn't look good. And I think the other part of it, though, the under-talked about part of this, is that we were told in the draft last year that Jarrett Stidham was the reason they weren't interested in looking at a quarterback, even if they had the opportunity to draft one last year. If Stidham can't beat out this version of Cam, then what are they doing with him? So, I'm a little surprised that Stidham hasn't gotten any traction in this. And if he doesn't get any traction and Cam continues to play poorly, that to me is a sign that the Patriots are all out on Stidham, and which is what we expected. We were just sold a different bill of goods.
NFL trade deadline is right around the corner. We're hearing rumors about the Falcons basically blowing everything up. What are you hearing?
Now, the same, and the Jets seem to want to be active too. And I understand it. Like, I understand bad teams just dumping payroll and pressing the reset button. But I will ask, does 2020 not play into the mindset for anybody? Like, I'm curious how the trade market is going to be affected from two sides. One, how much do you have to take into account that this has been the weirdest offseason you could ever imagine for the team you have assembled? Mm-hmm. But two, how much are you going to be willing to give up, not knowing if we're even going to see this thing through fruition? I mean, we all presume we are. I understand that. But is the team going to give up a bunch of huge draft picks for for example, for Gilmore, like everybody's saying today, the Patriots might be shopping him. Well, are you willing to give up a bunch, not knowing how the season's going to play out, whether or not you'll have your full deck of starters most games, how that will affect your playoff seeding? Like, I think there's a lot of variables for teams that usually would be buyers that would keep them on the sidelines a little bit. So I think there's going to be less action than a lot of people think.
All right, Jason, we appreciate your time. I want to send you out with this. There's word right now. We always say we're going to talk more college football with you, but the NFL just dominates everything right now. But look, the Big Ten, they come back, but it reminds me of baseball's first weekend when their opening weekend, and you couldn't even enjoy it because all the COVID narratives that started, unfolding. Wisconsin right off the bat, they were already playing with the backup quarterback who looked really good in Mertz. He gets, he tests positive. Then the third stringer, technically the backup tests positive, and now there's talks of that game might being canceled this weekend coming up with Nebraska. What is going on? And this is not a good start for the Big Ten.
No, and this is worst case scenario because combine that with the fact that Penn State lost to Indiana, and I thought Penn State might have the chance to put themselves slightly in the playoff conversation, but that loss to Indiana is going to be hard for people to forgive. So then you look, all right, who's next up? Well, Wisconsin's on that list, and the thing that people need to understand for the Big Ten is that they have a mandatory 21-day waiting period if you test positive. So as a result of that, you have to look at it and say, okay, then that means Michigan, the biggest game Wisconsin has on their schedule, is just under 21 days away. So you're going to be without your quarterback for the biggest game you've got and your biggest shot at making a statement towards the playoff. So, I mean, my heart's breaking for Wisconsin, who, like, Wisconsin fans had to be doing the whole Badger mushroom thing, celebrating and saying, hey, my God, we finally got a quarterback. And it's like, well, hold on, 2020 is still going to get you. So, unfortunate moment for the Badgers because I'm not sure how they'll survive it.
All right, good stuff. You can catch Jason Fitz weeknights right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Spain and Fitz, 7 to 9 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Jason joins us every week. Browns Raiders this Sunday. My prediction, Jason, the Browns win 35-24. What is your prediction?
Oh, you're underselling the amount of points in this one. I think the Raiders are going to win this game, but I think it's in the 40 to 35 range. Like it's going to be a burner. It's going to be
Big 12. So you're giving the Browns the 35. I'm giving them. That's fair. But you're saying 40 to 35, which with the Browns defense too, that's not that, we could be Browns Bengals part 2 next weekend. It could come down to, the final moments like we saw last weekend. All right. 40-35, Jason's prediction for the Raiders over the Browns. I predict 35-24 Browns over the Raiders. Jason, good stuff as always. Thank you.
You guys have a great week. Thanks.
Later.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Trick or treat.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Oktoberfest at Milano's has begun. We're serving our once-a-year favorites like schnitzel sandwiches and German pizza. Get it to go or stay for the games with NFL Sunday Ticket. See you at Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps for big screen football.
The spread of COVID-19 is still unchecked across the nation, and you need to keep your family safe. Make a new habit and check your temperatures twice a day, once before dinner and before leaving home in the morning. You can't afford to take chances, so use the Exergen Temporal Scanner. Its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies, and it takes an accurate reading in seconds. It's the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Quick and easy to use. You can count on Exergen to keep your family safe 24 hours a day.
It's time for an upgrade. Beneath your feet, with beautiful, durable new carpet from the Home Depot. And right now, free installation. Choose from a wide selection of styles. Order samples. Schedule a measure and installation, all online. It's never been easier to have carpet you love, right where you live. For new carpet and free installation, only from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free installation on carpet $4.99 or more and 99 cents or more per square foot. U.S. only.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
There's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Pros today have to do whatever the job calls for, and the Home Depot is here to help make that easier. With a wide range of delivery options, you can get what you need, from job lot quantities to small supply runs, delivered where and when you need it. Don't want to buy the tool? Rent it. We've got the most innovative products and more ways for pros to find them, in-store and online. Pros are changing, so are we. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Welcome to another Fantastic Four golf hole experience with the Buy Golf for Half Bogey Boys.
We're in Greenville, Ohio today playing beautiful Turtle Creek Golf Club. This course was recently rated the 4th best public golf course in the state of Ohio. I'm standing on the tee at the 5th hole. This par 4, well, it's considered the toughest hole on the front 9, and while I can definitely see why after looking around, there are trees all around you, and you have to reach an elevated fairway with your drive, or it's impossible to even see the green. Well, I find the rough off the tee and have to punch out with my next shot. My third shot gets me up the fairway in position to reach the green. Laying 3, I finally hit a good shot and land 6 feet from the hole and putt in. Listen, I'll take a bogey on this hole absolutely any day of the week. If you are looking for great golf courses to play around the Miami Valley, you have to go play this course. Get your pals together, book a tee time, and come out and play Turtle Creek. Stay tuned for more Fantastic Four golf hole experiences. See you at the next hole.
Visit buygolfforhalf.com for half-price golf packages from Turtle Creek and other great local golf courses around the Miami Valley.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. 2 locations. One at 23 McOil Street, Dayton. The other, Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Saturday, 10 to 4.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Hi, this is Chris Burmick, co-owner of Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. I support LaRonda Jackson for state representative. LaRonda is reliable and responsive when called upon. Her follow-up said a lot to me about her commitment to local businesses. LaRonda Jackson is a successful business owner, and I appreciate her desire to create a better community for all of us. If you live in District 40 and want vision, unity, and values, vote LaRonda Jackson for state representative.
Paid for by Friends of LaRonda Jackson.
Every home needs a reliable thermometer for twice-a-day temperature readings. Protect your family with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, the only home thermometer used by hospitals, physicians, and clinics.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
I had
had offers from pretty much everywhere, especially regionally. The only offers I didn't have at that time on this side of the U.S. was basically Duke and North Carolina, and those teams were loaded at my position back then. But my Final Five, man, I narrowed it down to Michigan State, North Carolina State, Kentucky, back when Tubby was there, and I only had Dayton on my list in case I wanted to stay home, but I honestly thought that I was going to go away and go big.
All right, that's Brooks Hall. You can hear the rest of that interview coming up here later on tonight, 6 o'clock. Talking Out Loud makes its debut right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Talking Out Loud hosted by Sully again every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. All Dayton Flyers talk, of course, and we are under a month away. The season just around the corner as we are wrapping up October. So we're excited about that again. Sully and Brooks Hall tonight, 6 o'clock, immediately following the show. And as you heard right there, really good stuff in that interview. You don't want to miss it. Sully did a great job again, and Brooks Hall, appreciate him doing that interview with Sully. So that's coming up later on tonight. And we're going to actually be joined by Joe Paterno here in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes from now, top of the hour. We'll hear from Joe Paterno, the son of Joe Paterno. He was a part of his dad's coaching staff at Penn State for 17 years. And he has a lot to say about the build-up to Ohio State, Penn State coming up on Saturday. And we'll also promote his new book that features Ohio State as well. So we will get to that coming up here in 15 minutes. So this article came out on ESPN a little bit ago, and it really should not have surprised me the way that it did. And it technically didn't. But how about this? We like to make a big deal, like, for instance, like of the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals, and the ratings were down for that. And of course, everyone could try to contribute it to, well, the players are too woke, and that the players are, they're forcing their political opinions on everybody. And I do believe that obviously is the case. And I do believe that did play a role in why a lot of people did tune out of the NBA. But I think the reason that the NBA ratings were low is because you had more options to watch during NBA season than you normally do. Usually the NBA, the only thing that it's going up against is usually the Major League Baseball. That's it. The NBA was battling a lot. College football, NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs, and earlier in the playoffs too. Keep in mind when more teams were in it, more markets were watching. Right now, Major League Baseball, for their ratings to take a hit the way that they did is a little alarming. Like for basketball, for instance, I think a lot played a role in why their ratings dropped. For one, it didn't feel like a normal NBA basketball season, even when they were in the NBA finals. Like, I know I'm watching the finals, and I know I'm watching LeBron about to win his 4th NBA championship, but there was still something about it that I was like, yeah, it's cool, but man, without a sold out Staples Center and, without a sold out, whatever the hell the arena is over in, Miami, bottom line is it just didn't feel right. So I think that's why the NBA ratings were down. I'm not dumb, though. I do believe that, of course, the constant, beating people up over the head of, with the Black Lives Matter and everything, and regardless of your opinion on it, I'm not saying it bad one way or another, but I do believe that did play a role. My ratings dropped just a tad. But at the same time, I do believe that the ratings also dropped because it was being played during a time it's normally not traditionally played, and viewers and listeners had more options. Basketball, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. If a year from now, those NBA ratings, assuming that they're playing a regular season, regular playoff games, at home courts, with somewhat whatever the capacity is going to be for those. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to wait to judge then. But baseball, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You played during your normal time. You wrapped up your World Series during the time that you're supposed to. It's October. You normally are playing your playoffs during October. You normally are going up. If anything, actually right now, you can argue that for the entire World Series, there was no NBA Finals. Technically, the NBA, college basketball, you're starting to kind of, you're starting to get that towards the back end of the World Series. You have college football, NFL, and other stuff. You had less of that. Baseball doesn't get an excuse. They do not get an excuse. Their ratings are down. How about this? And you have an LA market because I'm starting to hear last year that, you had Washington and you had Houston, not the two sexiest of media markets. This year you had LA. You had the Dodgers. Now, I know Tampa's not, that alluring as far as a media market's concerned. Hell, Tampa in general, that's a franchise right now that aren't they trying to split their games? You're going to play half your games in Canada and the other half here in the U.S. It's not like there's a ton of interest in the Tampa Bay Rays as far as people flocking to their TVs to watch the team. They're a dull, boring team. They're interesting. They don't spend hardly any money, and yet they put one of the best teams in baseball out on the field every single year. They're interesting. but I don't think that they are must-watch TV. The Dodgers should be. You have Mookie Betts, you have Clayton Kershaw, you have the list goes on and on with the stars are on that roster. There's no reason why baseball ratings should be down the way that they are. So if I'm baseball, I'm more concerned about why are our ratings down. If I'm the NBA, I'm not too concerned with why the ratings are down in the NBA. We just discussed that wasn't a normal season. I mean, my goodness, the gap between mid-March when the NBA played its last game in mid-March, I think it was like March 11th, okay? The NBA pulled the plug on its season due to COVID. They didn't resume play until like July. So that was all April, all of May, all of June, pretty much all of July. And it was the end of July. 4 months. That's longer than your normal off season. So from the time that an NBA champion is crowned in June, it was a lot longer as far as that's concerned. I mean, practices start at the beginning of October. So the gap between the delayed period of when they put a pause on the 2019-2020 NBA season, from the time they paused to the time that they resumed, that gap was significantly longer than what your traditional normal off season is. There was nothing normal about this NBA season. I'm not alarmed about why their ratings are down. You have LeBron James, you have Kevin Durant, you have Steph Curry, you have stars. Their ratings will be right back up. They'll be fine. But if I'm baseball, I'm concerned. Because if you keep in mind, too, even with the NBA ratings being down, we were still talking basketball. We were still talking about LeBron James and the Lakers and the Miami Heat and Pat Riley versus LeBron and the Lakers versus the Heat and Pat Riley going up against his former team and LeBron going up against his former team and Pat Riley hates LeBron and wants to do everything he can to keep LeBron from getting. We were still talking basketball. Michael fans hate LeBron. Oh, he's going to get his 4th championship, and then boobs like Kenner are going to be telling us how great LeBron is. Oh, my God. Ratings might have been down, but, man, basketball was on the tips of the tongue of every fan out there. People wanted to talk NBA. NBA is going to be fine. Major League Baseball is a problem. Major League Baseball is a problem. The Dodgers, one of the biggest media markets out there, their team just won a World Series. And we're not talking baseball. We're not talking about how Clayton Kershaw finally got it done in the World Series. We're not talking about Mookie Betts anymore. We're not talking about the Dodgers who have won tons of games and spent millions and millions and billions of dollars and finally get their World Series. We're not talking about that. So not only are your ratings down, but we're talking about Justin Turner. We're talking about Justin Turner, who found out that he tested positive for the coronavirus, ignored it, still went out on the field and ignored protocols. We're talking about that. That's a problem. We're also talking about, of course, Kevin Cash. We're talking about the manager of the Rays pulling Blake Snell 6th, 7th inning. He only had like 70-something pitches. He had struck out 9 batters. He had only given up his 2nd hit of the night. He was showing no signs of slowing down. That Dodgers lineup didn't have an answer for him, and Cash goes and takes him out. And then you're going to get the stat nerds with their calculators out, and they're punching in numbers right now so that they can tell me that based on this blah, blah, blah number and this blah, blah, blah square, blah, 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 shove it. I don't care. They're going to try and tell me and you and everyone out there that is screaming for the old school baseball to come back. You know, the old school baseball that actually developed stars, old school baseball that actually had ratings, old school baseball that fans and kids and everyone actually cared about who the players were. You know, remember those days? Those were the good old days. Like, you can't sit there and defend today's style of baseball when the ratings are plummeting, when there's less stars in the game today than what there was even 10, 15 years ago, when no one even cared. I mean, the World Series ratings, that's your time to shine is the World Series. No one cared. TV ratings dropped 32%. And by the way, they dropped 32%. If you remember last year, you had Washington, you had, of course, Houston. They had stars galore. Houston's roster is stacked with talent, right? Same thing with Washington. They had a ton of talent. That was one of the worst. That was one of the least watched World Series of all time. Can't get any worse than that. Well, they did. TV ratings dropped 32%. This is a problem for baseball. Say what you want. Make fun of the NBA. Oh, yeah, I'm not watching the NBA. Tell me who to vote for. I'll show you. I just won't watch. Okay. People care about the NBA. People love the NBA. Fans love the NBA. The ratings will be back. I'm not sure about baseball. Baseball took a huge PR hit here in 2020. They came across as very selfish during the coronavirus. All they cared about, you had owners and players arguing over money. They weren't even concerned about the coronavirus. At any point, did you hear any of the players concerned about safety measures for the coronavirus? No, you did not. All you ever heard was, well, I want my money. I want my money. I want my money, which, by the way, I don't blame them. I would want my money too, but you got to understand optics matter, and the players didn't care. It was a huge PR hit for baseball. And then you get to the World Series, your biggest time of the year, and no one's watching you. No one cares. That's a problem. And the stat nerds out there who defend Cash taking out Blake Snell, keep in mind, I'm not overblowing this. Keep in mind, this is a problem. I tweeted this out earlier. Baseball's biggest issue is that the average fan today, you know, when I tune in, like I can't stand, I love Jim Day. I love the broadcasters, but you could tell they're so out of their comfort zone trying to push a lot of this advanced analytical talk in their broadcast, because you get the stat nerds at home mad because the broadcasters aren't advancing with the game today, that they're not calling the game based on the stats, that the managers and that the front offices are basically using those numbers to build rosters. And that so people get mad at the broadcasters. That's why you'll hear Jim Day, who you could just tell he's uncomfortable even using some of the terminology. And sometimes he doesn't even use it correctly. I'm not even mad at him. It's stupid. And I bring that up because I feel like to watch today's baseball, you have to go to college and take some kind of advanced math class just to understand how they calculate some of these stats. Sports is supposed to invite the non-traditional fan in. Can a non-basketball fan sit down and watch the NBA? I guarantee you they can't. I guarantee you non-basketball fans can tell you who Steph Curry and LeBron James are. Can non-baseball fans tell you who Clayton Kershaw is? Can non-baseball fans tell you who Mookie Betts even is? No, that's a problem. When non-baseball fans sit down and they tune into a broadcast and they're talking about, you know, all of these advanced analytical different stats and everything like that, and I'm just like, this is stupid. Oh, man, the launch angle. We got to talk about launch angle. How about you just simplify it? Just talk about the fact that, hey, he hit it. It went over the wall. That puts a point and a run up on the board. I could understand that. Even Kenner. You got to, like, what's the scene in The Office? All right, now explain it to me like I'm 5. That has to be every marketer's approach, because not everyone is going to understand your product. And I'm not even convinced that the managers in baseball today understand their product. Here's the deal. You know how you make people want to watch your sport? You got to create stars. You know what you don't do with your stars? You don't change how you manage your game to the point to where you have used a calculator to convince yourself that we need to see less stars and more bench players. Did you know that in this playoffs, that the bullpen pitched more innings than all the starters combined? Not just for the Reds. I'm talking about for you combine all the playoff teams. The bullpen, who, by the way, there's great bullpen guys, but that's because they're not good enough to be starters. But their role is very important. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Very important. Even the sixth man in basketball, not good enough to be a starter, but their role is still very important. So it's not a slight to them, but a lot of guys who are good at being a sixth man, not a lot of coaches want them to be a starter in basketball. If you're in baseball, you're a bullpen guy, great. I can go to you in high leverage situations, but I don't want you pitching 7 innings. That's what the stars are for. That's what your starters are for. And then to see that kind of mess, and we see it every year, and I see it from David Bell, I see it from the Reds, and then I see it, the stat nerds with their calculators trying to tell me how, well, maybe if you weren't too dumb, you would understand it. You know, I'm going to admit something right now. When it comes to trying to understand baseball today, I am dumb. I don't even care. I have no clue what the hell they're trying to accomplish. They want to waste more time trying to convince fans that launch angle is important. I don't need to know how the ball came off the bat. I just need to know that when that bat leaves the ball, does the guy I just watched get a hit? Does he get on base? Does he score a run? Runs, home runs, RBIs. Boom. That's simple. Strikeouts, wins, boom. Simple. The dumbest of fans, the Kinners of the world, can understand wins. We can understand losses. We can understand strikeouts. I can understand hits. I can understand home runs. I can understand all of that. Stop making it more difficult than it has to be, because you're killing your own sport. You literally in the game 6 of the World Series, literally took out your star player. When you have more eyes, you should have more eyes on your product than at any other time of the year during a championship round, a championship series, a World Series game. And the non-traditional baseball fans who were probably giving baseball a try that night, man, this guy's good. I wonder, I can't wait to keep watching. Wait, why is he taking him out? Oh, he just gave up a hit. He's playing bad. No, he's not. Oh, that's considered a play. This is stupid. I'm not going to watch anymore. Trust me, folks. I can't speak to you on being smart, but I can tell you what it's like to be dumb. You can relate to me that way. Baseball is stupid now. Or actually, I lied. It's not stupid, and it needs to become more stupid so that more people will like to watch it again. I think it's that simple. Don't tell me that, they're going for the home run ball is going to save baseball. Baseball is hitting more home runs today than what they did during the steroid era. People think that the steroid era created more stars because they hit more home runs. That's not the case. That's not the case. If people really loved home runs, the ratings would be higher today than they were during the steroid era because they're hitting more home runs today than they were during the steroid era. People are tuning in and they're tuning out because the game is ugly. The game is more boring. They're not playing small ball. They're trying to hit it out. It's the Adam Dunn approach. I love Adam Dunn, but it's the Adam Dunn approach. I'm going to step in the box. It's either going to be a home run or a strikeout. No in between. No one loves watching that. Nobody. All right, I went a little long there. I apologize. But, man, that is so frustrating. Carlton Woods, what happened to living and dying with your star player? I agree. I agree. You get to that point of the year, you got to rely on your star players. I could even relate to coaches or managers who try and say, well, look, I'm not trying to blow my pitcher's arm out, in April. Okay, it's annoying, but I can understand that. It's a long season, injuries, but it's Game 6 of the World Series. Blake Snell's not pitching again after that day. Keep his ass out there. But baseball is its own worst enemy. If your new strategy of your game is to see less of your stars out on the field and have more of your relievers who are not stars come in, I'm sorry, it's not a winning formula. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Hey, let's talk a little college football. We'll get back into that later on when Kev joins us. We're going to have Jay Paterno, the son of Joe Paterno, was on the coaching staff under his dad at Penn State for 17 seasons. And I'm excited to chat with him as we get you set for Ohio State, Penn State. He joins us next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Sure, the players bring some skill to the game, but if I don't put them in my lineup, who cares? Not me. I'm Eric Rubino, fantasy baseball GM and league runner-up 2 of the last 9 years. I use the progressive Name Your Price tool with options based on my budget. And for a guy that's used to being in control, it fits. Like this runner-up t-shirt. Champ gets a trophy, but you can't wear a trophy. Boom.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for a pivotal role at her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology identifies the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Monica did, and that's how she found Lamont, her new project superintendent.
The job is so perfect for me. I had a career breakthrough. I would have never found this job if it wasn't for ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Support Local Business $1,000 a day giveaway cash contest is a company-wide contest for your chance to win $1,000 daily. No purchase necessary to enter or win. You will receive an email confirming entry. One winner will be chosen for each day. Contest is open to U.S. residents 18 years or older. Contest is sponsored by participating Alpha Media and other participating stations. Aptivada or their parents, subsidiary, and affiliated entities, advertising agencies, promotional partners, and members of families or households are not eligible to enter or win. Odds of winning depend on number of entries received. Contest is subject to all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Void where prohibited. Participants must sign all contest release and waiver forms to be eligible to win the prize. The contest begins on April 4th, 2020 and ends on Friday, May 8th, 2020. To participate in the contest, you must listen to the participating radio station at the specified times and enter the word that wins at wingam.com. Contest sponsors are not responsible for technical failures or malfunctions of any kind. For full contest rules, please visit wingam.com. Decisions of station management with respect to the contest are final.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Be listening every hour for the word that wins and enter it at wingam.com. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio. 1410 Wing AM.
I had offers from pretty much everywhere, especially regionally. The only offers I didn't have at that time on this side of the U.S. was basically Duke and North Carolina, and those teams were loaded at my position back then. Mm-hmm. But my final five, man, I narrowed it down to Michigan State, North Carolina State, Kentucky, back when Tubby was there, and and I only had Dayton on my list in case I wanted to stay home, but I honestly thought that I was going to go away and go big.
All right, once again, Talking Out Loud debuts tonight. Brooks Hall, former Dayton Flyer. He will be Sully's first guest on Talking Out Loud as it makes its debut on 1410 ESPN Radio, and that's going to be coming up immediately following our show. We welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on this rainy, wet, and cold Thursday. And I tell you, it feels like football weather. It feels like football. It feels like fall. It's beautiful weather. To me, it's beautiful weather.
It's definitely fall outside.
What, you been working or something?
Oh, man, I'll tell you later, man. We got a dope interview coming up, man.
We do. And we need to get to him right now because he has his daughter's game he has to get to. We're wasting his time. So we have Jay Paterno on with us. Jay, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Good to be on. And in the intervening time, my daughter's game was canceled because we're in the middle of all that tropical storm rain. So now I'm free a little bit more.
All right, well, good stuff. Well, hey, I'm glad you're joining us on this week, especially Ohio State, Penn State coming up this Saturday. And I always hate that they're playing each other so early in the season. I would love more of a build-up to this. And I want to get your opinion on this because we all know Ohio State's big rival is Michigan. It's Ohio State, Michigan that's the big rival. But what's frustrating is it's lost its competitive luster. When I think about Ohio State, Penn State's the team that scares me every single year. 5 of the last 7 matchups have ended in a touchdown or less. It's honestly the most competitive game they have on their schedule in the Big Ten every single year. But you know it from the opposite side. What is Penn State's view of Ohio State on these weeks?
Oh, well, we've come to really dislike Ohio State, and the fans have. I mean, I don't dislike anybody. I just like playing and competing in the whole 9 yards. But our fans really have come to dislike Ohio State, and part of it is, since 2012, when Urban got there, and now with Ryan Day, they've won 7 of the 8 games. And in fact, when you look at it, they've won 15 of 16 against Penn State and Michigan. So I think everybody hates them. I mean, they've certainly separated from everybody else. Now, again, it's going to take some time for everybody to catch up, but this is going to be a good one.
Coach, what do you think the effect of the weather is going to be tomorrow night?
Well, I think both teams are very similar in what they want to try and do offensively, running quarterbacks and throw the ball down the field. So I think it's going to be a net, no matter what the weather is, it's going to affect both teams the same way. So I don't know. And again, the weather is constantly in flux over here. So we'll see what it ends up being come kickoff.
Now, Jay, let's go back to last Saturday. I'm sorry. Of course, Ohio State had Nebraska, but Penn State had Indiana, and that was a wild finish. And again, of course, that was a lot of controversy there with the finish to that, the replay. Was he out of bounds? Was he not? Your takeaway on that, and again, that does take a little. I mean, to me, it takes away a little bit of luster of the matchup coming up on Saturday. As I wanted both teams undefeated heading into this, I want the Big Ten to have more teams eligible for the college football playoff. Not saying Penn State's out of it, but losing to Indiana doesn't do them any favors early on.
Well, I think when you look at it, if you had said that the battle of unbeatens in the Big Ten this week would be Indiana and Rutgers, I don't think anybody would have bought that. But, it's 2020, so what do you expect?
Exactly.
But that being said, I think Indiana really played a really solid football game. They're an experienced team. I think they'll win a lot more games than people think. But, again, it had been a zillion years since they'd beaten a top 10 team, and that was in the back of my mind. Like, I wish they'd stop saying that they're jinxing Penn State. And that last play, it could go either way. I mean, it looks like at one angle that the very tip of the ball crosses the plane while he's still in the air. At another angle, it doesn't look like it. I don't think anybody knows. But you know what? Hats off to him because it was an incredible effort to even get there. And, there were 15, 20 plays in that game that Penn State could have made and it wouldn't have even gotten that point. So as a coach, you look at it and go, and now you turn around and go, okay, we got week 2 in Ohio State, which suddenly feels very much like a must-win game for Penn State season if they're going to have a chance to get in the Big Ten title. Because if they lose this, the path becomes very, very difficult.
How do you feel about the whiteout without fans, though?
Well, it won't be a whiteout. It'll be a gray out because the stadium is gray and steel. So, unfortunately, that's an Ohio State color, so maybe that helps them. Certainly not having the fans in there is a huge help because, even Urban Meyer, he and I joke about it every once in a while. He said that's worth 7 points, that crowd at night. So that 7 points is gone, unfortunately.
Jay, when we spoke last, so we had you on earlier in the summer, and at that time we had no clue whether there would even be a college football season. And the Big Ten, of course, was, them in the Pac-12 was the last to the party. And right now you look at what's going on around not just college football, but especially in the Big Ten after 1 week already. Wisconsin, has an outbreak, and it's led to the mess that's going on now with Nebraska as they're trying to make up a game this weekend. The Big Ten shuts them down. Again, not a great week for the Big Ten 1 week in. Again, we knew that the margin for error was going to be slim with not having enough time to make games up. Your takeaways as far as what's already going on, as far as how the virus is impacting the Big Ten season?
Well, the Wisconsin solution can be very difficult because, if there's a 21-day protocol, which is what it has been, are they out 3 weeks? That's, you start to go, wait a minute, if there's 21 days, that's number one. Number two, looking down the road, what if this let's say Ohio State and, I'm going to be positive. Let's say Penn State wins the East and so let's say Iowa wins the West. What if Iowa has an outbreak on Wednesday of the Big Ten championship game?
Yep.
There's no game. And does Iowa, let's say Iowa's 7-1, Penn State 7-1, does Iowa go to the playoff? Does Penn State go to the playoff? Who wins the Big Ten championship? We've created a lot of challenges, but we've got some football, so we got to be happy with that. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds as we go.
How does the coaching staff approach a big game like this, only having 1 week of film? Because normally, you get your tune-up games and then maybe even get a couple games inside the Big Ten Conference before you were playing Ohio State or Penn State. How can the coaching staff look at both teams on film only after one game?
Well, fortunately, there's some history there in terms of Ohio State's got the same quarterback they had last year, same coordinator they had last year. So a lot of things are similar, and people don't change that much. Same thing on defense for Ohio State. Now, for Penn State, you've got a new offensive coordinator, so you've only really got one film to see what he's going to do with these guys. Now, for Ohio State, it was a game, because Penn State had to, went to the wire, and it was a tough game. Not like Penn State could hold anything out. There were some seasons when we played, 1 or 2 games early that were not as strong. We would show very limited stuff if we could get away with it. So, but I think Penn State certainly had to show their hand to try and win the game last week. So I think that helps Ohio State.
You were, of course, part of that staff for 17 seasons in various roles, but just is there an Ohio State-Penn State matchup from your coaching days that that stands out to you, that when you think of Ohio State-Penn State, that game that's the first game you think of?
Probably the 2005 game over here, because it was, we were coming off a couple of disappointing seasons. Ohio State came in and Troy Smith was playing for them, and we had Michael Robinson at quarterback, and it was one of the first really, really big whiteout game. Mm-hmm. And it was just a student section back then, but it was one of those games. The rating was off the chart. The noise level was at an all-time high the entire game, and it was a tight game the entire game. When we won 17-10, and then Tom Hawley made a sack late in the game and caused a fumble. But it was one of those games. It was so intense, and it was never more than really a one-score game, that the fans were in it from start to finish, trying to help us, and they did help us. They had a major impact on that game, so that one really stands out. If you ask me which one, another one stands out on a negative side, the 0-2 Ohio State game out there, the year Ohio State won it all. Because I made a call that I've lived to regret my entire life. On a long 3rd and long, we had control of the game, but got greedy. And Chris Gamble made a great play, returned the interception for a touchdown. That was the only touchdown they scored. We ended up losing by 6. That play haunted me for the rest of my career.
Yeah, they had a lot of close games that year. That was one of those, if the college football playoff was around, they don't make it because they didn't win with enough style points that year. That was.
But I will tell you this. When they were getting ready to play Miami, we were playing a bowl game in Florida. Some Miami people were like, "Oh, they're going to kill Ohio State." I said, "I'm telling you, Truss is going to win that game." And they thought I was nuts. And I told everybody that I knew. I said, Ohio State is going to win that game, and they did. So they made me look good.
What are your, and the one thing about this matchup too that's interesting coming up again, we have Joe Paterno with us here. Son of Joe Paterno was on the staff for 17 seasons. He has a new book out, Hot Seat: The Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. We'll touch on here in a second. Ohio State, Penn State coming up on Saturday. Jay, you were part of a lot of those, but one thing that adds to the rivalry of this matchup coming up on Saturday, Justin Fields, the Justin Fields element here. And again, we talked about it last year. He had committed to Penn State. He was supposed to go to Penn State. Then he went to Georgia, now with Ohio State. So everything's coming full circle here. I'm sure that adds an extra element to the hatred between these two teams.
Well, I don't know if it's. I think the hatred's already been there. He just adds another
fuel to the fire.
Yeah, no, quite. He just adds a little bit of gas to it. But you know what? If you look at this game Saturday night, if I'm Penn State, I'm looking at him saying, how is my pass rush going to do? Because Penn State's got a little bit more experience in defensive line than Ohio State has on theirs, and how is Ohio State's pass rush going to do? This is one of the younger Ohio State defenses that there's been around a while, and can you get them into some mistakes? And then the quarterback run game. The last 4 years, Penn State QBs have accounted for about 66% of the Penn State's run game. And last week against Nebraska, Ohio State had some trouble with the quarterback run game, and that's part of their schemes. And then from Ohio State, I'm looking at Penn State, I'm saying, I'm going to try and take Penn State's tight end and the quarterback run game out of it, and I'm going to make Penn State's unproven wide receivers beat us. And then I'm going to find out how good Penn State's secondary is, because if I'm Ohio State, I got a great group of wideouts, and I'm going to make those safeties cover my guys in the slot, which they did last year, and they got some plays on it. I think those are some of the things you want to look at. And then obviously the turnover part. Last year, Ohio State had that game completely in hand, and then had two bad turnovers, and Penn State suddenly finds themselves down 21-17, and with a chance to make it really interesting.
Coach, you guys got a lot of Ohio kids on the team. You talk about Clifford, he's from Cincinnati. So how do the kids from Ohio approach this game versus Ohio State?
Well, they don't have as many as we used to, but it's a big deal. I mean, over the years, we had Kajana Carter, Curtis Enos, Joe Jaravicius. We had a bunch of guys. Darryl Clark was a Big Ten MVP for us, a quarterback. He was from Youngstown. So we've had guys over the years in these games, and obviously it means a lot to them because, if you're from Ohio and you leave the state to go play somewhere else, come back, people in Ohio take that very, very personally. I mean, really personally. After Tressel got there, and certainly with Urban Meyer, it became much more difficult to get the kids that Ohio State wanted out of that state. And I think that's really hurt. When you look at Michigan, I think that's hurt them as well, because, they made a living with Ohio kids. I mean, you can go back to Desmond Howard, you can go to Charles Woodson, you can go to Elvis Gerbaugh. I mean, there's just guy after guy after guy that played at Michigan. And I think Ohio State in many ways is the toughest job in the Big Ten, and maybe the best job in the Big Ten because of the home state talent.
Joe Paterno with us here. James Franklin, of course, Penn State announced the other day, Noah Cain out for the remainder of the season. If you touch on this, I apologize. But just again, Penn State on a normal season would be fully loaded right now. No Micah Parsons, obviously. He never opted to back in, obviously, to play once the Big Ten announced they were coming in. So a lot of losses for this Penn State team. No excuse, but it just shows you how good this team still is, even with the losses of like Noah Cain, Micah Parsons, and others. Obviously, this isn't, though, the full team that you guys expected coming in.
No, but I think there's enough depth. Linebacker is one of the positions where there's enough depth that a guy like Micah Parsons opting out really shouldn't cause a lot of problems. And the defensive front is still really, really good. So, the linebackers' best friends are the guys in front of them, keeping linemen off them. And offensively, they recruit a lot of really good running backs. The difference is they got very young in a hurry. So last week you have a guy break open when you have the game in hand, and if he's not supposed to score, but it opens up and he sees the end zone, and your touchdowns are good, so he did it, which then opened the door for Indiana to tie the game. But I mean, there's some good young running backs, and I think one of the challenges will be if Ohio State comes after Penn State with some linebacker blitzes and things, how well will they pick up those blitzes as young guys?
Jay said this out with this, the hot seat, the year inside college football's pressure cooker. Again, we touched on this a few months ago. Again, it features Ohio State. Just tell everyone about your book and where they can access it.
Well, it is a fictional account of a lot of real stories that happen in college football, and it starts out with the Ohio State's coach being told he has 1 year to win or else, and it takes you through the pressures, both through recruiting, the pressures of what happens when players get in trouble off the field, and the pressures that how those pressures weigh on his family at home. So it really is an inside look at what a year like that is, and it takes you inside what big time college football is without any, it's an unflinching look at the highs and the lows, the good and the bad of it. And you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at jvpaterno.com, which is my website. But you can get either of those places. And then we'll be doing some book tours as we go down the road, and it'll be distributed more widely. But right now, a lot of people grabbing it. A lot of people getting a lot of really positive feedback, and a lot of people saying, boy, this is really takes me into meetings and things that I never would have thought these kind of things go on, but they do. And, when you're a head football coach at a major university like Ohio State, it's 24/7 pressure. You're never off the clock. And when the phone rings at 1:30 in the morning on a Friday night, it's not your academic advisor telling you that you got 3 guys on the dean's list. Congrats. It's something that it's not the call you want. Or it's even, somebody on your team has a family member who got shot or something like that. I mean, it's not good stuff at that hour of the night.
Ohio State, Penn State, week 2 for the Big Ten, at least. We're a month and a half into the college football season. It's tough for me to imagine Penn State being 0-2 to start the season, but I think you know who we're going to predict to win. But Jay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you really going to pick right now? You're going to pick Penn State. Are they going to be 0-2 after Saturday?
I can't. You guys are brutal. Honest to God, you put me in a tough spot. I'm going to go with my heart and say no. But some things have to happen for Penn State. There's no question about it. Justin Fields just really is. I think he's probably the difference in the game, because when you cover guys downfield and you commit to covering those dangerous. Olave is as good as anybody there is in the country. You got to commit to those guys, and if you don't tackle them in the backfield, and he's tough to tackle. But I'm going to say no because I live here and I want people. I don't want to get run out of town.
Fair enough. This will be the last thing, because I do that all the time. Last thing, and then I ask you 5 more. Your final 4. Send us out with your final 4 when the college football playoff is finally announced. Who's your 4?
There's only one team I would commit to right now, and that would be Clemson. I have not been sold on anybody yet, both sides of the ball. Clemson's exceptional on offense and defense. I have not. Alabama's exceptional offense. They've been vulnerable on defense. So I'm not ready to give 4 yet, because I got to see a couple more weeks of Big Ten, and I got to see if there's anybody in the Pac-12 too, as well, to be fair.
Now, most people say Clemson, Bama, Ohio State. Everyone says those are the locks at 3. You're not. You avoided. You said Clemson had was solid. Alabama had flaws. Why will Ohio State not make it?
I want to see what Ohio State does defensively Saturday night first, because again, it's only been 1 week, and they're young on defense. And now that said, the talent's there, and Larry Johnson, who's a defensive line coach I worked with for 16 years, so I know he'll get those guys to the level they got to be at. But I want to see it first.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much for your time, Jay Paterno. Good enough to join us here as we get set for Ohio State, Penn State on Saturday. Get his new book, Hot Seat: A Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. jvpaterno.com. You can get it there. We'll also be retweeting out the link for people to go and access that as well. Jay, thanks for hanging out with us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys. Fun as always.
Thanks, Coach.
Go Bucks. He's like, I'm making friends everywhere I go. I like Jay. He's good. I'm glad that we were able to catch up with him this week.
Coach is cool, man. He's a fan. Not only a fan, that's his place. So, of course, he's going to pick his team, man. Just like we would pick our team.
So he said the only team that's a lock right now. And by the way, he's not wrong from a standpoint of Alabama has looked very that with the way they've looked defensively at times. Yeah. I got to look to see who they still have coming up.
Really just that Ole Miss game that just hey, that looks weird.
But it can come back at any week and creep up on you.
Yeah.
But if we're going to give Ohio State the benefit of the doubt for looking a little rocky defensively up front, we might have to do that same thing with Alabama, maybe. I don't know. But again, Penn State, Ohio, this is going to be a good one this week. Remember I told you it's been a while since a regular season game has made me a little antsy? The Nebraska game made me a little antsy about if there's a team that can expose Ohio State's
touchdown drive.
Yeah. Like if you look, I think it was like 5 of the last 7 games have all come down to the final possession. They've all been, the 7 or less, like that, 7 points or less. I mean, this matchup's always big. I know I opened up the show. You weren't here yet, but Ohio State, Michigan's the rivalry. I get it, but it's lost its competitive luster. I don't lose sleep over it like I used to. This game always makes me nervous every year. The one team that, I respect Wisconsin, but I'm not as nervous heading into those matchups. The matchup every year that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to mentally put the Buckeyes in the playoffs until we get past Penn State. And that's kind of how I am this week. Part of me was a little happy that Ohio State showed a little bit of flaws on this past Saturday because I like being a little nervous heading into a game. Last year I wasn't nervous heading into any game. I was mad that they were so good. I was so mad that they were so good because I'm like, man, this isn't fun. It's not fun. I mean, it's fun watching them win, but I'm like the buildup.
I'm like Byers, man. I want every game to be a blowout. I want to turn off every Ohio State game at noon and watch another game. That is how I feel. I want to be a blowout. I want my starters resting at halftime, basically like they did all of last season, outside of maybe like 2 or 3 games. Yeah, I love it. Blow them out. Let's get the backup some reps. Hey, everybody have some fun. Let's get the walk-ons in, man. Let's pull some kids from the stands and let them get some reps at Buckeye. Yeah, that's what I'm on.
Vincent Waller on Facebook. Again, we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook and search the Justin Kinner Show. Jump in there. Penn State was overrated coming into the season. They have an okay quarterback, decent wide receivers, a good tight end, a good D-line, and solid linebackers, but an average at best secondary. I mean, this is a whole scouting report. That all adds up to a decent team. James Franklin is also a vastly overrated coach. I will agree with him on that. I agree with that 1,000,000%. He makes dumb decisions constantly. They have a couple of more losses on their schedule. I think they have a loss coming up on Saturday. I do think James Franklin's very overrated. Every year when they lose, Go watch the post-game comment. In fact, I'm going to go back and find the post-game clips every time. After every loss, he is heavily criticized for a late game screw-up, for a late game decision. It was at Ohio State a few years ago. Was it the Bosa game? He did something late in the game, or I forgot. I have to go back and look. He always makes mistakes in these very close games all the time, and every year, he's like rated, when they rank the coaches in the Big Ten, he's always ranked ahead of Ryan Day. We're a year and a half into Ryan Day's tenure, but no, he's not a better coach than Ryan Day. It drives me up the wall. I think he's one of the most, I say he's more overrated than Harbaugh. He's more overrated. To be fair, Harbaugh has failed to put Michigan on the map as being like a top 5 team every year. How often is Penn State in the top 5? Regularly. They always fall out of it because they lose games that they shouldn't.
Right.
So that's why. James Franklin has positioned Penn State better than Jim Harbaugh has done Michigan, but there's good and bad. When you get there, you can't just be happy with getting there. What are you going to do to stay there? James Franklin constantly loses big games, and I shouldn't say it drives me nuts because a lot of the big games he loses are Ohio State, and I don't want him to start winning those by any means.
Right.
So it's a big one coming up.
It's like I always say, man, I don't have, if I was a Penn State fan, I would definitely have a problem with them losing to Ohio State all the time and everything like that. But I would have a bigger problem with them losing games before the actual big game. We can't even get to the big game undefeated to have it every day. So now these games versus Ohio State are bigger because you can lose one. Yep. Everybody knows you can lose one, but then that's it. You have to run the table after that. So basically, if Penn State doesn't win this game on Saturday, their season's over.
I think it's over now. That's just me. It can maybe beating Ohio State's a life raft, but it doesn't mean you're getting to shore. It means okay, your ship just sunk, but beating Ohio State, it's something to hold on to and keep you above water. But once they lose to Ohio State, they're done. But again, having a life raft doesn't mean you're getting to shore. It just means you've bought yourself some time to figure out what's next. That's kind of how I look at Ohio State.
And then you can't count on them winning out, you know what I'm saying? Because they just have these brain freezes, it seems like, and other teams come out and play and beat them. That's how ball goes, man. It's up to the coaches to get them prepared.
Here's another one. William Yelly on Facebook says Clemson looks good because they play nobody in the ACC. William, outside of Penn State, Ohio State's playing nobody this year as well. And we've talked about this in years. The Big Ten has not been a threat to Ohio State for how long? And by the way, Clemson, and this is what we do. Well, Clemson beat a top 25 Miami team. Well, where are they now? Where are they now? But, like, we're going to face a Penn State team that's ranked, and if they lose, Penn State could be out of the top 10, top 25. You're not going to have an 0-2 team in the top 25.
Right.
So if Ohio State beats Penn State this coming up Saturday, that's like one of the games we said, oh, that's going to be the meat of their schedule. Well, when you beat Ohio State, or when you beat Penn State on Saturday and they're 0-2 and out of the top 25, technically Clemson's played a tougher schedule than Ohio State. When you head into the month of November, I'm not knocking Ohio State. They're making the playoff. They just got to take care of business, win out. They're fine. All I'm saying is I don't always like when we get into critiquing schedules because it's not always accurate. We like to think, no one thinks that their kid's ugly. We judge everyone else's kids, but we always think our kid's cute, and your kid's not always cute. And our kid being the Big Ten is not cute. It's just not cute right now.
What people and Buckeye fans better start doing is being Indiana fans and Michigan fans, because those are the other teams that's on the schedule that are currently ranked.
Yeah.
So you better be fans of those two teams, or more importantly, just win out. Just win out, and you ain't got to worry about none of this. Just win out.
Shaw says Harbaugh recruits better than Franklin. I don't think that's true. I don't think he recruits better than Franklin. Penn State and Ohio State always have the top 2 recruiting classes every year of the Big Ten. Right? Like that every time that comes out. So I disagree on that. Harbaugh in-game decisions are better. I'll give you that. And Harbaugh is better than Frank. I'll give you that. But I don't think he's a better recruiter. Hell, half the time we're always talking about how Michigan does horrible whenever the recruiting class rankings come out, because we're like, that's the best he could do. We're watching Ohio State way up here and Michigan's coming in. Half the time, it's not a terrible class half the time, but it's not up there with where it should be. Harbaugh's like the 3rd highest paid coach in college football?
He's up there.
You're not supposed to be the highest paid coach in your conference to be coming in 3rd and 4th every year. I'm just saying. That is not true. Look it up. Michigan's classes have been better. Okay. So if his classes are better, Shaw, then you're going to change my mind, and then he will be the most overrated coach in the Big Ten, because that means you're bragging about a coach that loses with more talent. I don't know what you want me to say to that. All right, 457-9464. More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kevin Nash next. We got to eat some Milanos. They have the brunch menu. Let's eat. And he said he brought us one of everything. So we got to go check that out. We'll be back.
Larry loves me.
Yeah, he said you're a Steelers fan.
Oh, look, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. We've been expecting you. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with rain, a high near 48. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 38. And tomorrow is going to be mostly cloudy with a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Advance is helping you get your engine ready for the road this holiday season with the right oil, the right filter, at the right price every day. Get 5 quarts of full synthetic Mobil 1, Valvoline, Castrol Edge, or Pennzoil Platinum with the Mobil 1 oil filter for just $33.99. Plus, this holiday season, get a $25 NBA store gift card and 2 times Speed Perks points instantly with the purchase of 5 quarts of Mobil 1. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's opponents on Man versus Train. At the crossing, we have Rick, a 175-pound frustrated man who's running late for work. And on the tracks, we have Bull, a million-pound freight train that takes a mile to stop. Let's see who comes out on top.
You can't beat a train, so don't try. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
As a professional painter, you know your customers want a flat finish, but don't want to pay the price of fighting dirt, grime, and scuffs. Use new Behr Ultra Scuff Defense from the Home Depot for a beautiful flat finish, plus stain and scuff defense. And that price starts at just $29.60 a gallon, and that's before the Pro Extra discount. A flat paint that's too tough to scuff. Behr Ultra Scuff Defense, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Available online and in select stores.
Beware, the forces of hail will rain down upon you. What the hail? Storms, the threat of eternal hail.
Who the hell was that, honey?
Hail if I know.
What
the hell did he want?
He was hella concerned about us getting a roof inspection.
Hell of a way to tell you about it.
Lance Roofing and Siding is your local expert in everything hail can damage on your home. Have unsightly hail damage? Visit us at lanceroofing.com to schedule your appointment today.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Hi, my name is James, and I'm voting for LaRonda Jackson for state representative because I have experienced her dedication to my family and to our community. LaRonda Jackson will listen to your concerns and bridge the gap between your house and the state house. LaRonda Jackson does the heavy lifting, and she will fight for livable wages and our children's education. That is who I want representing me at the state house. LaRonda Jackson stands for unity, vision, and values. Join me and vote for LaRonda Jackson.
Paid for by Friends of LaRonda Jackson.
Make it a Redbox night with an edge-of-your-seat action thriller that can't be missed. Rent Ava, starring Jessica Chastain. Ava is a notorious assassin who travels the globe specializing in high-profile hits. However, when a job goes dangerously wrong, she is forced to fight for her own survival. Rent Ava, along with other new movies. Tonight, head to one of the 40,000 Redbox locations. Stream on your smart TV or visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Fever is a leading symptom of the coronavirus, so take your temperature twice a day with the Exergen Temporal Scanner. It's quick and easy to use, and its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies. Have your family start and end their day with the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Your family can take their temperatures in seconds to know where they stand in the fight against COVID-19. Protect your family from the spread of this deadly disease and stay safe with Exergen.
Does this place look haunted?
No, I don't think so.
What about those two creepy girls?
Come stay with us.
That is truly frightening.
You know what's really scary? Missing out on Geico's great service. With Geico, you get 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Thank you, creepy girls.
Want to see our room?
We're gonna sleep in the car now.
Happy Geico-ween. Switch today for 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows. So when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 3.125%, APR 3.43%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 2.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Walgreens is making Medicare easier by saving you money and peace of mind. Find the best, most affordable plan for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare today.
Whether it's betting on the big game, catching up on bills, or saving up for the holidays, we could all use a little extra cash this time of year.
Hey, how does $1,000 sound?
It's the ESPN Dayton #We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Listen for the word that wins every hour, starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Enter the word at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. It's the ESPN Dayton We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Shout out to Larry from Milano's on Brown Street. Of course, he feeds us every Thursday. Brunch on Brown. Breakfast for dinner, man. That's always where like that's what we're technically having right now, breakfast for dinner. But Brunch on Brown, Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., only at the Milano's on Brown Street. He brought us one of everything. Like, oh, you got to finish. I see what you're doing there. I see what we got going on. You know, I see. So he has this breakfast pizza, which I've already had 2 slices of that. That's unbelievable. Again, fresh pizza dough, brushed with mayo, then topped with scrambled eggs, sausage, and cheese. Boom. I already have some Tabasco sauce in my fridge in the office. I'm about to go get that and start drenching it in that too, because you can't have eggs without hot sauce. By the way, remember the other day someone said that they hated me more than tacos without sauce? Well, I had tacos last night. I had some chicken tacos in the corn tortilla. You take the chicken and you put some the cilantro. Oh man, that's fantastic, man. I'm telling you, all about the tacos, man. I'm telling you. But the breakfast pizza, breakfast melt, house-made roll brushed with mayo and topped with ham, salami, scrambled eggs, provolone cheese, roasted red peppers. But why haven't we got to that one yet?
I'm busy.
Southwest smothered wrap, Tex-Mex skillet, Western skillet. So the Tex-Mex skillet, house-made breakfast potatoes topped with scrambled eggs, chili, and queso blanco. Oh, I called dibs on that one, just so you know. No, this brunch menu is fantastic. Again, Milano's on Brown Street, Brunch on Brown, Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So for those of you who are close by, I suggest you go there for brunch.
Much love to Larry, even though, you know.
Yeah, he did you a favor.
Yeah.
He did you a favor today, and he said even though you're a Steelers fan, he did that favor. So there you go.
Appreciate Larry, man.
There you go.
Who is Larry's team?
He's a Bengals fan.
Oh, hold on, Larry. I defend the Bengals. That's Kenner that bashes on the Bengals. You should be mad at him, not me.
Don't be. No.
I didn't do nothing.
This is a you battle.
We haven't even played this season yet.
Don't bring me. Yeah, but he knows what's up.
See, that wasn't me, Larry.
And what's funny is like a lot of our sponsors too. They're all Bengals fans, and I get along with all of them. I don't get along. I don't get it. I really don't. I thought like for sure I was going to have to like one of these days I'm going to have to come on the air and be like, oh, the Bengals are great, man. They're the best 1-5-1 team I've ever seen. And you're going to know it's because a sponsor threatened to pull their sponsorship of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. If you ever hear me like saying something nice about the Bengals, it's probably because I'm trying to because sponsorships are important. We appreciate our sponsors. The show's kicking ass. The ratings are great. Everything's great right now. We're doing fantastic. I don't want to do anything to ruin it. So if you ever hear me starting to say things like, oh man, the Bengals are awesome. Man, if I forget 5-2, I would kill to be 1-5-1. They're the best 1-5-1 team ever. Like if you start hearing stuff like that, just know some sponsors threatened to pull it if I didn't start saying nicer things about the Bengals.
Transparency.
That is key. That is key. All right, Jay Paterno, good stuff there again. The son of Joe Paterno. He was on he coached under his dad for 17 seasons. 17 seasons, and I think from like 99 to 2011 or something like that. Like he was there a long time. So, long. I mean, again, he coached for longer than that, but he was with Penn State for 17 seasons as far as that goes. But no, good stuff there. Again, if you missed that interview, we'll have that for you later on. You'll be able to access that at wingam.com. Subscribe, download the Justin Kinner Show in your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store. And again, the show will be updated for you daily. It'll be made available for you right away. So go and check that out. Make sure you get to it right there. Plus, you can watch the show. Head to 1410 or head to wingam.com. Click on Watch ESPN Dayton, and you'll be able to watch all previous shows as well as select segments, including our talk yesterday. Well, we were talking about how people were laughing yesterday because I said someone's messaging. I was still Bengals fans, like even after the show ends, pissed off, just continuing to send me stuff. And they keep bringing up the past. Oh, the Bengals were at least in 5 straight playoffs. And like I joked yesterday, I'm fat. I used to be skinny. When people make fun of me for being fat, I'm not allowed to say, well, I used to be skinny. And if I did, whoever's making fun of me for being fat, they're going to say, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Then you could be fat. So if I'm making fun of the Bengals for being bad and you say, oh, well, they used to be good, it's not like I'm going to say, oh, okay, you're right. Okay, it's okay that they're bad. No, it doesn't work that way. I don't get why do people do that? Why do people for the Browns? Now, maybe I would understand. My team doesn't have a past that I can grab onto to say, when things are going bad, I could say, oh, yeah, well, remember that year we won 7 games, Baker's rookie year? That's all I have to hold on to. All right, so I don't get it. I think
we had this conversation before, but I can't remember. Where does the line draw? Like, what's the year mark where you can't say, all right, man, 2 years ago, we won the division. 2 years ago, we were Super Bowl champs. Like, where does it end? When can you stop reaching back to the past? What's the cutoff year?
I think, in college football, it's multiple recruiting class. Like in college sports, I always repeat that again, because for me, when a new college coach, when a college coach, like for instance, like Ryan Day coming in, like he's getting these recruiting guys coming in. Okay, like now start on 2022, and he's already kicking ass there. By the way, a quarterback, I think it's I can't remember his name. He decommitted from Texas last night. By the way, #1 quarterback prospect over there, and Ohio State's on his list. By the way, if Ohio State pulls that off, Tom Herman's done in Texas. He has to be done.
Man, so many things going on at Texas. So much is going on at Texas, on the field, off the field. That's a whole different story, what's going on off the field at Texas. But, I just look at it. Okay, that's a good example. So a Texas fan, man, we were just there. Were you? Because they'll bring up Vince Young. But that was, 05?
Well, you're a good example. You're a Florida State fan.
Yeah, that was 13.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Tin Man, the guy on Twitter. Remember, he got mad. He didn't blame us. He blamed the radio station for hiring 2 guys who aren't a fan of the local team. Just so we're clear, Dayton, the Triangles don't exist anymore. So I don't understand why he was mad, because we're not a fan of the NFL. Anyways, but yeah. So, you're obviously, a Florida State fan.
Yes.
So when we make fun of Florida State for being bad, I at least give you credit. I've never heard you say, okay, Jameis Winston, we were just there a few years ago. I mean, that seems like decades ago, and I'm sure
long time ago. That was in 13. That was in 13. So that's a long time ago. To me, that seems like a long time ago. But you can have Texas fans talking about the Colt McCoy years and the Vince Young years. Vince Young has come to the league and retired. Colt McCoy has come to the league and retired. All right. So, I just don't know what the cutoff is for all right, man, we were just there. Is it 5 years? Is it 4 years? I'm not sure, because, especially in college football, we play that game. Okay, Ohio State won their inaugural college football playoff. Obviously, Ohio State is great. Obviously, we're in contention to win a national championship every year. So I think they're in a different category. I think them and Bama and Clemson they're in a different category. But if you're not playing for it, or if you haven't played for it in the last 4 years, can you say we're elite?
Well, it's funny. I just used you as a Florida State fan, but the next year, who won it the next year?
Ohio State.
And who hasn't won it since?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. So I'm putting Florida State in this category as if oh man, the glory days are gone. You're just not winning and being right. You're not recruiting, winning, and doing what Ohio State's done a lot of winning. They've done a lot of recruiting, but they haven't gotten to the playoffs, or they get beat in the playoffs. So they haven't won a national title since 2014. But it's funny how, again, perception matters and stuff too. But you got to be consistently winning, consistently in the top 10.
You got to be there. You got to at least be in the mix. I mean, you look at Michigan, for example, and Harbaugh's best year, they lost to Ohio State.
That classic game, man.
That was a great game. Great game. And then, I know it was a meaningless bowl game, an exhibition game.
They are.
But they end up losing to Florida State in the Orange Bowl. So can you say that year was great? I know nowadays, especially in college football, is basically, all right, man, if you don't win it, you suck. That's the reality of the situation now. If you don't win a national championship, or at least playing for it, you suck. So is that fair? I don't know. I'm asking a question. What's a fair viewpoint of a college football program now? We look at Penn State, and we look at how they always end up losing the game before the big game versus Ohio State. And then they lose that game to Ohio State, but they win all the other games. Is that still a good season? And then we look at
Minnesota? Yes. There comes a certain point for Penn State where it's like, okay, like they're gonna that act's gonna get old eventually. Like
think about it. Penn State hasn't won a national championship since the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And that's with how, I mean, they had Joe Pa for another 2 decades after winning that national championship, but still didn't win one after that, as far as that's concerned. I would have loved to see like those coaching legends during this college football playoff era.
I don't think so. I don't think you want to see that.
No, I would I'm telling you right now, because I think what happened when the college football playoff got here, a lot of recruits, of course, you have to trust the program, yes, but they started gravitating towards the name brand coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have seen that. James Franklin's not a household name across the country, but Joe Pa would have been. Same thing with Bowden and guys like that. Like I think it would have been very like right now. There's only 2 household names in college football right now, and that's Dabo and that's Nick Saban. Nick Saban's ahead of Dabo, but Dabo, is up there. Ryan Day's not there yet. I'm not taking a shot. He's just not there. He's a year and a half. Like I think Ryan Day needs, for one, you win a national championship, you've sped that process up. Ryan Day needs at least 4 years before I could put him in that category with those guys. Like I can't put him there yet, because if you're talking about, because right now he's Kirby Smart, recruits real well, gets to the playoffs, loses. Like he needs to win a national championship in the next 2 to 3 years for me to put him out of that group. There's only 2 elite coaches in college football right now. Again, I'm not Buckeye fans. Don't get mad. I'm just saying, like, I think you can understand my logic
between elite coaches and name brand coaches, though.
Not really. I don't think that there's only 2 elite coaches in football right now, and that's Saban and Dabo.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think that Saban is a name brand coach as well as an elite coach. Dabo, same thing. And I don't think that Harbaugh is an elite coach, but I definitely believe he's a name brand.
Fair. That's fair. And after that, like Mac Brown, is he a household name?
For me and you, yeah, but I'm not. I would have to ask somebody that's in high school, to be perfectly honest.
Then no, he's not.
Because I don't think so. Harbaugh for sure.
Urban definitely would have been. Harbaugh would have checked. Or Harbaugh, I'm sorry. Urban would have checked that list easily.
Yeah.
But no, like again, not a shot at Ryan. It's just because it's too premature. I can't even put Lincoln Riley in that group. And Lincoln Riley's been in the playoff every single year. That he's like, this is the first time that he'll be a head coach watching the college football playoff from home, prepping for an outside.
He might be a name brand too, though. Because of the guys he has coached and, the
like
trophies.
Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, even Jalen Hurts was a Heisman finalist. And
the trophies and the guys being drafted number 1 overall, like he's the guy calling the plays, developing these guys. So I would almost argue he's a name brand coach.
David Shaw says Day is better than Kirby Smart. Day has a conference title. Okay. Again, Day has the team that is the Alabama of their conference. Kirby is the team that is going up against the team that dominates, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not trying to say Ryan Day is not good, but Ryan Day has been around for a year and a half. Like he just needs more time. I'm not saying he's not a good coach, but he doesn't have a resume yet. There's nothing on his resume to put him anywhere right now. So let's just chill. Got to the college football playoff in his very first year. Got Justin Fields to leave Georgia and come to Ohio State. That's pretty damn good. Putting together one of the most impressive recruiting classes in the history of the program for 2021, and already off to a kick-ass start for 2022. Ryan Day's a fantastic coach. I'm not knocking him at all. But we also know how Buckeye fans, they panic. Things got a little weird. First half against Nebraska, I never once at any point thought they were going to lose. But
you didn't panic. You didn't say what the bleep on that first touchdown.
No, to be honest, what I did. I laughed. When they scored, I'm like, here we go. And I was like afraid to check social media after that. And he's done more than Kirby. Again, David, that doesn't count. When you are a guy when you are the Alabama of your conference, and you're sitting there saying that, I don't want to hear that.
Hold on. Kirby Smart has a SEC championship. They won in 17.
They even got to the college national championship game.
And they went to the game. Yeah, they won in 17. I want to say they beat Auburn.
But see, I have an obsession with being right so bad that I'm even trying to argue that Ryan Day is not good. Like, this is why I have a problem, because I have no issue with Ryan Day. So I'm just going to stop this conversation right here as far as that's concerned. But you looked at those recruiting things, right?
Yeah.
So Shaw says Michigan's average recruiting rank is like 7.75 the last 5 years. Penn State averages a recruiting rank of 15 the last 5. Michigan has more players to the NFL. Harbaugh is better than Franklin. It's not even close. That's not true at all.
What's their head-to-head record?
I don't even know about the head-to-head stuff.
I'm asking him.
Oh, that
like he's our fact checker.
He's definitely the fact checker. Now, with that being said, again, Shaw, You're defending your team, Michigan, but keep in mind,
he's a Michigan fan?
The more you defend them, the more you're making them look bad. Because if you are saying that Penn State is a team that averages about a 15, their recruiting rankings about 15 the last 5 years, they're the second best team in the Big Ten every year besides Ohio State. They're the ones last year, the very first college football playoff ranking that came out, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State. It was Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State. Like, it's always Penn State. It's all but that's why I knock James Franklin, because they always lose the big one.
Right.
Harbaugh can't even get to the big one half the time. Now, Penn State's never been to the college football playoff either, as far as that's concerned. But to me, the more you're going to prop up Michigan and brag about how the recruiting ranking's about 7.75, and you're going to take shots at, obviously, what Penn State's doing, to me, then that means what Penn State's doing is more impressive than Michigan, because you have more talent and you've done less with that talent than what he has. As far as James Franklin.
This is a total different question. Who would you rather have as a coach?
Thank you.
A better recruiter or a better game coach?
A better recruiter or a better game coach?
Yeah. So basically,
I like that.
This is a sneak question, and I'll tell you why after you answer.
So you were asking Ryan Day or Urban Meyer? No, because, damn, I almost said the S word. Oh, that could have been bad. Ryan Day's recruiting, too, so that's stupid.
The other one, the old guy with the glasses.
The old guy, so it's Urban Meyer versus Jim Tressel.
Yes.
But he recruited real well, too.
But not at this level. Jim Tressel recruited.
Oh, I'm not arguing that he recruited like Urban took it to that next level.
Like what Herb did was out of this world.
And Harbaugh is both?
Focus, Kenner, focus.
No, Harbaugh is not. Harbaugh is not. Repeat the question. My ADD is.
What would you rather have? A better game coach or a better recruiter?
That's tough. I don't think you can have one without the other. I think I would rather. I would rather have the recruiter, because as long as you have more talent, you always have a shot to win. Better in-game coach, you may not always have the talent to win, and then you're just a pretty good coach. So I would rather be the best recruiter, because Urban got away with losing a lot of years at Ohio State, not losing records, but losing big games like the Purdue and even losing to Penn State, still making the college football playoff of the year, but losing to Purdue, losing to Iowa. Urban got away with bad losses like that. Urban got away with not having his team prepared to play most years because, Urban's a god out on the recruiting trail.
Right.
Now, if you have a coach that is not as good out on the recruiting trail, not winning big games, then the excuse is, they weren't favored. They don't have as many players. I would rather be the better recruiter than the better coach, because at least the better players will give yourself a shot to win every game versus having to try to coach your way. Like, you know what I mean? Like Arizona State, they're very well coached. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be the most talented team on a night in, night out basis ever. So I would rather have, someone that's going to recruit better. I don't know.
Fair enough. I go back and forth with that, especially in college football, because when you have an elite mind like Jim Tressel and a coach-teacher type of coach, you don't always get the big-time superstars left and right. You'll get, your Terrell Pryors and your DeVere Posies, but then you'll end up having to move Zach Bourne from fullback to linebacker. Like, why is that happening? Like, that's a recruiting flaw. You know what I mean? So, but then when you have a talented team like the team that was at Florida that Herb coached, you ramsack people, you destroy people. But, this is the ugly side of recruiting, though. Sometimes when you recruit, you have to recruit some quote unquote unsavory kids. You know what I'm saying? And you find yourself in a position where, like, you're on the news bladder, and that's somewhere you don't want to be. Just like Coach Paterno called and said, he was talking about, you get those 2:00 phone calls on a Friday. It's not about the dean's list. It's about a player doing something he shouldn't have been doing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a yin and yang. It's a give and take with that situation. I ultimately, I probably would go with the guy that's going to give me the best Jimmys and Joes, because, those are the ones playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, run a fly route. Hey, tag in, run past him. Touchdown. Like, you just some stuff you don't have to worry about coaching.
All right, 457-9464. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. We'll be back in a moment. More college football, NFL, Browns, Bengals, all that fun stuff. We're going to get to our Week 8 NFL picks when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Roosters would like to thank all of our loyal guests and all the loyal Buckeye fans for your support this year. Because of you, we've been able to stay open and keep our award-winning team employed. Our team members go above and beyond and are dedicated to providing you and your family the safest dining experience possible while still providing a fun, casual atmosphere to relax, laugh, and enjoy our award-winning food. Roosters, the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After falling to the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1982 NBA Finals, the 76ers needed to find the right player to build the ultimate winning team. In September of '82, they acquired restricted free agent Moses Malone. They went on to rack up a 65-17 regular season record and followed that up with a 12-1 postseason record. Malone won the regular season and NBA Finals MVP award.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Adding a leader you need right when you need them. That's how sports teams get ahead and how your business can too. LinkedIn will match the right talent with your open roles fast. Post a job and you'll get great candidates with the right mix of skills, interest, and experience. So every hire you make is a win for your business. Go to linkedin.com/sports and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, ladies, we all know one of the greatest feelings in the world when a friend says, "Girl, those pants look amazing on you." And I say, "Thanks, they're Skechers Go Walk Wear pants." And why do I always get compliments on these casual, athletic, stretchy pants? They're made with comfortable Go Flex fabric that has compression and hold. They have 4 pockets, plus they're machine washable and come in extended sizes. That's the Skechers Go Walk Wear line of pants. Find yours at Skechers.com or a Skechers store near you.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
If you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school, spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen, as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
Fall is in the air. Fall projects are on the list, and the Home Depot is ready with more ways than ever to help. Use our mobile app to search, shop, and save. Choose flexible delivery options that bring everything you need right to your door. And if you need tools for a project, but not forever, you can rent them. You won't find a better toolbox anywhere else. Take on fall and fall projects now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
The Hustler Power October Super Event is going on now at Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle. Purchase a Hustler X1, Super S, Super Z, or Super Z Hyperdrive in October, and you'll receive 20% off MSRP. Visit Small Engine Service Pros and ask them to apply the Super Event promotion for 20% off. Fleet customers receive up to 32% off. Visit hustlerturf.com. Valid through October 31st, 2020. Some exclusions apply. See dealer for details. Small Engine Service Pros, 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, You're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet, 2 locations, one at 23 McOil Street, Dayton, the other Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday, 10 to 4.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today.
The all-new Audible now gives you thousands of select audiobooks, podcasts, originals, and more, all included with membership. Try it for free for 30 days. Visit audible.com.
Did you know that 3 Ohioans are diagnosed with oral cancer every day? Or that pregnant women with poor oral health are more likely to have low birth weight babies? Oral health is critical to overall health, and poor oral health can lead to other medical conditions like heart disease and infections. Dentists are trained to recognize life-threatening conditions and to treat oral diseases before they become serious health complications. Dentists are doctors of dental surgery. They complete a total of 8 years of training after high school, including 4 years of college and 4 years of graduate training in dental school. Ohio Dental Association member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and have access to superior ongoing education, training, and resources. Ask if your dentist is a member of the ODA so you know you are being treated by the best. For more information or to find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
If the new Oral-B IO electric toothbrush had a theme song, this would be it.
I think you're gonna wanna see this.
Only IO combines Oral-B's dentist-inspired round brush head with gentle micro vibrations for a brushing experience even dentists have hailed as literally the best brush I've ever used. Get the wow of a professional clean feel every day with the new IO from Oral-B, the #1 brand used by dentists.
You're gonna see what everybody's talking about.
Oral-B, brush like a pro.
Let the joy begin with this week's sale at JCPenney. Get cozy with up to 50% off select cold weather bedding or your favorite kitchen items from Cuisinart, Wilton, and Instant Pot. Also, get select family outerwear at up to 50% off and save an extra 25% with coupon. Plus, grab our Black Friday prices earlier than ever. Shop the Black Friday kickoff at jcp.com this Sunday. JCPenney. Offers valid 10/29 to 11/5. Conditions and exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? If you're looking for new headlights and wipers, we recommend replacing in pairs. That way you'll have better visibility, especially with the weather changing. And there's no better time to do the job than during our first ever visibility event, October 25th to November 1st, where AutoZone Rewards members can get a $25 bonus reward when they buy 2 select Sylvania headlights and 2 Rain-X wiper blades. Restrictions apply. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Election Day is November 3rd. If you plan to vote by mail, plan ahead at usps.com/votinginfo. There you will find helpful resources, such as guidance for successfully using the mail, links to find your state's rules and deadlines, information for military and overseas voters, and more. The U.S. Postal Service is ready to deliver for you. Make sure you're ready too. Start today at usps.com/votinginfo.
The all-new Audible now gives you thousands of select audiobooks, podcasts, originals, and more, all included with membership. Try it for free for 30 days. Visit audible.com.
1410 WING AM.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.
We are Dayton's ESPN radio station. Talking out loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio. 1410 Wing AM.
I had offers from pretty much everywhere, especially regionally. The only offers I didn't have at that time on this side of the U.S. was basically Duke and North Carolina, and those teams were loaded at my position back then. Mm-hmm. But my final 5, man, I narrowed it down to Michigan State, North Carolina State, Kentucky, back when Tubby was there, and I only had Dayton on my list in case I wanted to stay home, but I honestly thought that I was going to go away and go big.
All right, that was Brooks Hall, and again, he is tonight's guest on Talking Out Loud, which makes its wing debut tonight, 6 o'clock, immediately following our show. Excited about that. Sully does a fantastic job. In fact, we'll talk some college basketball with Sully coming up here in about 20 minutes, 5:30. We'll talk about the big recruiting week that the Dayton Flyers just had, signing 2 top 50 players to the class of 2021, and Jerron Holmes and Caleb Washington. So we're super pumped about that. Again, a huge week for Anthony Grant. You know, I was critical at first because I'm like, you just have this magical season, third in the country, going to be number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament if there was one. Obi Toppin, all the coverage, game day, Dickie V, everything. I mean, it was an unbelievable season, and then it's like, and I'm sure COVID had a lot to do with that too, but I felt like there was no recruiting bump. I'm like, I was expecting like things to just go crazy, and of course, I'm Mr. Negative, so right away I'm like, oh, how can you not capitalize on this? How could you not build on it? It seemed very flat, and then all of a sudden, boom, because the thing that I always forget about too, recruiting is not just a, hey, you want to come play here? No? Okay. Hey, you want to come play here? I mean, it's a process, and a lot of that process got, slowed down due to, of course, the virus, not being able to, communicate with people unless it's a screen in front of you. And these guys, one of them didn't even come to the campus.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. So you know how good of a coach you have to be and a communicator you have to be to get, these 18, 19, 17, 18-year-old kids to trust you.
Yeah. And
the parents, not just the kids, the parents. And that's Anthony Grant. I mean, first of all, if I'm a parent and I'm on the phone with him, there's just something about him that you trust him immediately. Like he just had, even when you hear him talk, everything, you could just tell he knows his stuff. He knows basketball. And he's confident. And you had boobs like me criticizing him early on when they were losing games and all that stuff. And he just kept on. He's like, I don't care what these people say. I'm going to do me. And number 3 in the country last year, Obi Toppin, and 2 top 50 players of the class of 2021. So who am I to sit there and say, hey, where's that recruiting? But I think that bump pretty big.
Bump.
Yeah. So we're getting to that with Sully coming up here in about 15 minutes. Let's go to Matt, 457-9464. Matt, thanks for holding, man. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm good. How you guys?
I'm good. What's up?
In there.
Hey, a couple comments. I was thinking you were talking about relevancy and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long you have to be in to still be in. I think with the college football playoff, it kind of messed that up a little bit. And then when you throw on top, Clemson being there, five of the last years, right? Clemson's been in the national championship.
Oh yeah,
have they been? Yeah, and then Alabama's been in there 4 times or 3 times?
I mean, they basically live there. 4 times. Yep, they basically live there.
So, when you take away the bowl games that used to be, and then you add the dominance of Clemson and Alabama, it makes it harder to be in the club of in. Back in the day, when they were voting on national championships on, the Rose Bowl and stuff, it was easy to say, well, okay, this SEC team is still there and whatnot. So I think that makes it harder to be in, right? For me, it's 3 years. You got to be in the college football playoff, but you got to get to the national championship game, within 3 years for you to still be relevant, I think, to some degree.
I think that's
yeah, and you look at, for instance, that's a good point, Matt. There's some teams, if Penn State or Michigan ever make the college football playoff, that's going to be huge. Regardless of what happens when they get to the playoff, that's going to be huge for those programs. They've never been there. But when you're in Oklahoma, who has been there for 4 straight years now, and they get blown out in every single one of, they don't get blown. Didn't they get to the title game one year? No, they lost to Georgia that year. That was the year you had Georgia, Bama.
They've been blown out.
They all but one.
They lost to Clemson in one of them, and then obviously that overtime loss to Georgia. So they've been blown out 3 times.
So, but again, sorry, Matt.
LSU, didn't they?
Well, Matt, that game was done by the first quarter. I think Joe Burrow and LSU, it was embarrassing for them. I'm like, holy smokes. So to your point, Matt, sometimes getting there isn't good enough after a certain point. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament. Okay, getting there, what are you going to do when you get there? It's not always winning a national championship, but there are certain rounds in the NCAA tournament that when you're an elite team, no one ever expects you to win it all. We don't expect Duke to win it every year, but Sweet 16 at least. Duke should never be eliminated in the round of 32. And that's kind of like Ohio State and others. Eventually you need to start getting there consistently. But if Clemson started losing in the first round of the playoff every year, we would start criticizing them, saying, you're too good to be losing in the playoff. You winning all these national championships.
Right. It's almost like how Ohio State was under Tressel. We kept getting back, but then we kept losing. We got blew out by
LSU,
Florida.
yeah.
LSU. It was like, hey, man,
I feel like
we'd rather not even
right
be
now.
there.
What's that, Matt?
I kind of feel like Ohio State's not there right now. Yeah, we got one national title in 14, and we've been 3 times, but, it's not enough it's national championship anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, there have been more bad memories from the playoff for Ohio State than good. And I'm not saying it's one thing to lose, but it's one thing to lose the way Ohio State has, and both against Clemson. You had the 31-0 shutout loss the next time they made the playoff after the national championship. And then you lose the heartbreaker last year. Now, I'm not saying there's ever a good way to lose, but those are 2 devastating ways to lose a game. 31-0 shutout loss that just eats at you the whole offseason. And then you have the official, everyone blamed the official, but those losses just eat at you. And
okay. So Matt, which way would you rather a loss like to Clemson?
Easy. I kind of take the blowout over. That last year was tough.
What about you, Kenner?
I'd take the close one because then you could still have the smack talk of, well, we would have done that to LSU. We would have beat LSU. We would have stopped Joe Burrow. We would have, that type of thing.
Man, I don't think I could have handled a 31-0 loss, man.
What's that, Matt?
Yeah, I'm kind of less ticked off after the 31 loss because I'm already, ticked off by the second quarter of that game. And it's like, okay, it's done. I can let that go. I wanted to comment on the coaching on, Day and Meyer and Tressel. Like, who would you take?
Yep.
I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and Tressel may be one of the best coaches I've ever seen. But Tressel was able to get 3-star guys and get them to be first-round draft picks in the NFL. I felt like Urban Meyer would get the 5-star guys, and they would get drafted in the NFL. But I think Tressel got more out of players than Urban Meyer did. Now, with that being said, I'd probably take Urban Meyer as my coach because the way football has changed defensively and, so pro offense, you got to take the players now. I don't know if Tressel could be as successful in today's college football as he was, back in 2002.
I will say this. I think there was an uptick in recruiting for certain programs, like, for instance, think back to before the college football playoff, and you're basically trying to be voted in the top 2 teams, and you're voted into the national championship, whatever. The bowl game still felt relevant. The bowl game still felt like you were playing for something, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's you want to now bowl games mean nothing. Bowl games to me mean absolutely nothing. I think recruits even think bowl games mean nothing because if all we do is hype the college football playoff, we hype it so much to the point to where if you're not in, even the number 5 team, we're like laughing at, saying, "Oh, they're no good. They're no good. They're not worthy of being the top 4." And half the time, the number 4 team's not worthy of being in the college football playoff when it's all said and done. But I think that what you saw is all the top recruits funneled to the top to the teams in the college football playoff because there's only 3 teams that you feel you can win a national title with every single year. And that's Alabama, Clemson, and then I think Ohio State comes in behind that. And I think you're getting that push. I think all the recruits are going to the same teams, yes, because they're good at recruiting, but I think a lot of it is that there's only certain brands you trust to get to the college football playoff, and it's those 3, in my opinion. And that's even with the team like Oklahoma, who's been there more than Ohio State.
What would you say about, Tressel coaching in today's world? Man, I'm watching football, man, and what they've done with the kicking and the punting and stuff, like, it's ridiculous. I missed that part of the game.
Tressel's recruiting wouldn't scare me in the playoff because he was a good coach. His coaching philosophy would scare me in the playoff because he would do the Tressel ball thing. All right, we got we're up 14. Let's just run the ball and let's run out time and all that stuff. Like, I was pissed at Ryan Day for apologizing to Frost this past week. I didn't mean to score late. For one, this is the college football playoff. Style points matter because I promise you, Alabama, Clemson fans, and others are going to say, oh man, Ohio State, they couldn't even put 50 up on Nebraska. We would put 50 up on Nebraska. Style points matter. So Tressel would only worry me from that standpoint. I believe he can coach anything. I just would worry his philosophy would hurt Ohio State as far as style points matter.
I mean, do you think, though, with how important the punt was to him, and now that you can fair catch the kick, I mean, don't you think that takes an aspect of Tressel ball it kind of eliminates it, don't you think?
To a certain extent, yeah.
I think Tressel. I don't know, man. I can't stand seeing them kickoffs not being returned and stuff anymore.
Well, I get why. I'm surprised it took this long to get to the point to where you do kind of start easing. I think it's dumb. I think kickoffs are stupid now. I think they're a waste of damn time. Even the NFL and everything. Yeah. I really do. I know that the players union won't go for getting rid of it just because, you're not going to get rid of a position, but it's absolutely, and I'm talking about NFL there, but it's absolutely pointless. It's useless. Like every kick.
Well, everybody calls a fair catch. Yep. It's on a 25 every time anyway. So you're just wasting, a minute for that play to do nothing,
Agreed. Agree. But Matt,
man, I get at you guys.
Adios, man. Thank you. All right. And by the way, let me ask you this, Kev.
Yeah.
Ryan Day's done a fantastic job. Let's say, and this would never happen, but let's say Urban Meyer says he wants to come back, and the school says we're gonna run a poll, and the fans get to vote. You feel that comfortable? Are we that comfortable with Ryan Day that we wouldn't want Urban Meyer back, or would you think a higher percentage of people would want Urban Meyer back?
Has Ryan Day won a national championship yet?
Nope.
Oh, this guy.
What did I say that was wrong? I answered your question.
No, because you know what I want to hear. I think most fans, they probably would say Herb.
So I think I'm getting the vibe now that the vast majority of Buckeye fans are so comfortable with Day that I don't think they would, like, if Urban says, okay, I want to coach again, I don't think anyone would say, oh man, now we're stuck with Ryan Day. I think it would be one of those where I think you would root for Urban elsewhere. You wouldn't hate Urban Meyer.
That's how Buckeye Nation is. Like,
because if he goes and has success at Texas, we'll take credit for it because that's what we do.
Yes. What's a Buckeye?
Always a Buckeye, unless you're Tate Martell.
Oh gosh. Oh, now I definitely don't want that to happen. I don't want any parts of that. Herb, stay retired, please. I don't want to have to deal with any of that.
Like everyone out there, like, because I'm getting lit up. I didn't even say it in a trolling way. I just said that Ryan Day, I do not put him in the category of Nick Saban and Dabo yet. And even the biggest Homer Buckeye fans, you should not be dumb enough to think that he's there yet because he hasn't done anything yet. He has done a fantastic job with the amount of time that he's had to coach. I'm just like, let's just ease I have no doubt that he's going to get to that level at some point, but my goodness, like, he's a year and a half into his coaching career. Let's just relax a little bit. Let's just chill out, settle down. It'll be fine. But I feel like based on the reaction I'm getting, even the private messages right now, that people are telling me that they're never listening again because I said that. If Urban Meyer came back and said, yeah, I want to coach again, I would love to coach Ohio State again, I think a lot of Buckeye fans would say, no, we're good. We like what we have. I think Ryan Day has that much support.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say I'm cool with Ryan Day. I'm not sure everybody else will feel that way.
Would Oklahoma say that about Stoops?
Yes.
That they like Lincoln Riley more than Stoops?
Yes.
Stoops,
because I think overall people just have to look at the situation, man. Like, especially, Herb's health condition and everything like that. Look, man, like, I don't want to sound mean or foul or anything like that, but we can't have you on the sidelines about to pass out every game. We got a good thing right now. Why mess it up? We're this close to winning a national championship. Who's to say if you come back, we won't take a step back? You want to continue coaching? Call up your buddies at Texas. Call up Notre Dame. Yeah. See you in the playoff.
And why does USC hate you so much? That's what I would really like. If you're Urban Meyer, that program, they would rather lose. Like that conference is prime for the picking right now. Like USC would be they would be a guaranteed playoff team every year. All you got to do is just put a decent team out there. You'll go undefeated every year. That's a crap conference. You would go undefeated in that conference every year.
I mean, Oregon was supposed to be there last year, but they played Auburn, lost by 3 points, and then they worked their way back in it and then lost by 3 points to Arizona State. You're out. So they can't lose twice.
So they bring the president from Cincinnati to USC.
Right.
With the caveat being you cannot hire Urban Meyer.
Right.
Do you realize that Urban Meyer has rubbed people the wrong way so bad that a university that is desperate to get back into the spotlight is choosing to lose rather than bring Urban in, who Urban would be the instant Band-Aid. They're choosing to bleed out as opposed to, be saved. That's amazing to me. Like, what do they know that we don't know? Or there's just some teams that just don't care. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, say what you want about Urban, but there is a program that if you brought Urban out there, not only would they be the best team in that conference, but they would be a college football playoff team like every year, no questions asked, because that conference isn't any good. It's just not good. Like, you don't even need to be great. Like, Oklahoma's not great, but they're not in a great conference, and they're there every year because of it. And USC is choosing to stay where they are at as opposed to being back on the map. Like that, there's something about Urban that they would just rather lose than go back to him. And I like Urban. It's amazing to me that that's the case.
You know my feelings about Urban.
I do. How about that? Kyle McGuire says, I would take Ryan Day over Lincoln Riley and Kirby Smart. I'm not against that take. My only problem is that Ryan Day, I don't know how you've come to that conclusion other than just, because he's my coach. I'm a Buckeye fan. Because technically Day hasn't done anything more than Riley or Kirby Smart.
He hasn't messed it up.
But
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, a great program like Ohio State and them hiring a coach and him not messing it up. We can look at so far, what I'm saying? I hope he continues. But, you look at Larry Coker, everything that they built up with Butch Jones. He came in, they won a national championship. They got back to the national championship. And then after that, they hit a wall. Mm-hmm. It was all him. And, saying some people could be saying that same thing about Lincoln Riley. Like, all right, he came in and took over for Stoops, kept it from hitting the wall. Now it's starting to look a little rocky, after a couple years. I mean, you got to think about this dominance that the Ohio State program has been on under Tressel, then the transition year with Fickle, but then boom, they're right back into it with Herb, and they're still in it with Coach Day. Like, that really doesn't happen. This is under we'll say 4 coaches, but the dominance of Alabama is under 1 coach because nobody's going back to the 60s to look what Alabama did. That's when they were dominant in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. Really not even in the 70s. That was USC's year. You know what I'm saying? That was USC's era. There was a brief spot in the 90s where Bama was dominant, but Bama wasn't dominant in the 90s and the early 2000s. It wasn't until Saban came back.
But what you're starting to see is brands carry on. Like, I know this is going to be a weird example because I just got done bashing him a little bit ago, but James Franklin did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Like, I think you and I differ about James Franklin. I think the things that he accomplished at Vanderbilt can be taken away from him.
But it's Vanderbilt, and you didn't win a championship, and you didn't do anything of significance. So
yeah, he did. They were over when he took over. For taking a team from 0 to 8 wins, that's not something in the SEC.
I'm just saying Baker did that for the Browns.
Oh my gosh. Go to break.
No. Hold up. All those things you just said about Lincoln Riley or Ryan Day doing that just doesn't happen. Well, Lincoln Riley's done it, and he actually had more. He has done.
Lincoln Riley took over Oklahoma.
Yeah. And you're saying Ryan Day's taking over Ohio State?
No, I thought you was talking about Franklin. My bad.
No, like Lincoln Riley taking over at Oklahoma, they got better at seeing. I mean, they elevated their court. I mean, it was the same talent that technically Stoops had, but like totally shifted how the team ran its offense and everything. But like, to me, Lincoln Riley's done more at Oklahoma, but that's just because he's been there longer.
Right.
To me, right now, I mean, I guess I would say I would take Day over the other two just because I'm a Buckeye fan But like Kirby Smart recruits just as well as Ryan Day. He's been to the playoffs more than Ryan Day. He's been to a national championship game, and he plays in the conference with Alabama.
Georgia only been once.
What did I say?
More, but
so he's been to more college. I said he's been to the playoffs more.
Once. They only been once.
Why do you say it so cocky?
I'm just saying they only been once.
You happy? You got one on me?
They only been once.
Kirby Smart still, until Ryan Day gets to the national championship game, he hasn't accomplished more than Kirby Smart at that point.
You can say that. That is fair. That's right. And they had the game in the bag. And I don't care what anybody says. Tua threw that ball with his eyes closed.
Shaw says, and you wonder why no other team in the Big Ten can do anything? Listen, I don't want to hear that. Georgia's found a way to make a mark in the SEC, and you have Alabama dominating that conference, that better conference. I don't want to hear that. And LSU just won the national championship. So Penn State and Michigan, stop sitting there saying, well, Ohio State just hugs the spotlight. I don't want to hear that.
Auburn just was in the national championship game.
I mean, so no, Shaw, I don't want to hear like the typical Michigan and Penn State fans out there. They all make it. Well, it's tough to get past Ohio State. It's tough to get past Alabama too. But yeah, LSU's been able to find a way to do it. We just talked about Auburn. You talked about that. That's with that's with Nick Saban being at Alabama. Georgia's got to a national championship, the one national championship game. Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Last thing, and then we're on our way out switching to college basketball. I think the way Urban and Day coach brings in a lot more 4- and 5-star athletes that are successful in the pros. That's what recruits want to hear. Ohio State is cornerbacks say, the D-back you. That's a great point too. You know what? When we talked about Tressel was a great coach, and he can take the lesser stars and build them up more. So I agree with Doug on that, and Doug and I don't agree on a lot, but I agree with him on this 1,000,000%, because now it's like there was nothing appealing about the way Tressel ran the offense. There was nothing appealing about any of that, although they weren't terrible, but there's just something sexy about the way Urban and Ryan Day run those offenses.
I think that's just the transition of college football in general. People think about college football, it still was in a 3 yards in a cloud of dust era. It was really that transition era when Tressel was still coaching. It was the younger coaches in that time, like a Urban Meyer, who was running spread offense. It was still 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Alabama just really switched to this spread type of style of offense. And as you saw, when Tressel had his quarterback and Troy Smith, they were out there running 5 wides. They in that classic game against Michigan, they were running 5 wide receivers, putting up 50 points. And then Terrell Pryor's last year, they were out there running a spread offense, putting up points left and right. I think he was adapting, and that's what great points do. Like we get stuck on those years in between, like the ballyhoo quarterbacks that they were hand it off, punt, hand it off, big run, defense. But that last year, the last real year of Tressel, when they beat Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl and the only loss they had to Wisconsin, that was the year they were going to play Auburn in the national championship. It was going to be Terrell Pryor versus Cam Newton. We would have won that game. We have more NFL players on that team than Auburn. Auburn only had 2 guys from the NFL. 3. Sammy Coates, Cam Newton, and Fairley. 3 guys from the NFL.
But apparently, we had the bigger cheater.
Yeah, Tattoo Gate.
Yep. Hell, I mean, look at everything Cam did, but you looked at Pryor. He wasn't even allowed back in the damn stadium. Like, remember when the Bengals was it the Browns or Bengals it was the Browns. So a few years ago, they were going to go do a preseason game at the Shoe, and they literally had to jump through hoops just to allow Pryor back into the Shoe. Right. Like, that's crazy.
So for everybody that who's bashing like the Big Ten for their COVID policies and protocols and everything like that, that happened strictly because of Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is, man. Like, this whole debacle. And that Tattgate was a debacle for no reason.
Last thing here real quick. David Shaw says, because recruiting in the South is the same as the upper Midwest. You know what? You're right. And that's why the reason Urban and the Buckeyes actually are good is because Ryan Day and Urban Meyer, they didn't just stick to the Midwest. They ventured off into Florida. They ventured off into Texas. They went to California.
You take the best in the Midwest, go get some dogs from the other parts of the country.
So, Shaw, while you're defending that 7.75 average recruiting ranking there for old khaki pants, maybe he needs to get off his ass and get over to California and get over to Texas and Florida a little bit more. Maybe he can sit at the table with the adults. He can sit at the big boy table.
How you think Michigan looked this week? Since we're going over.
It was Minnesota.
Oh, gosh. I think they look great. I think Michigan looked great.
Thank you for what did I prove? Your point. If Harbaugh was a good recruiter, like you said, he would be doing what Ryan Day and Urban Meyer did. Like,
but I think
Urban Meyer proved that you can't use that as an excuse anymore. So you want to be a bum ass that can't go do what the greats are doing? Fine. Enjoy your khaki pants.
Yeah, and it isn't like Michigan and Penn State have the same, obstacles that a Notre Dame has. You know what I'm saying? So, I know you and I differ about Notre Dame and their relevancy currently, but the programs like Penn State and Michigan don't have the same obstacles they do. You know what I'm saying? Those self-inflicted obstacles that they present to themselves and put themselves on the pedestal, that Notre Dame stuff, that's real, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, back in the days, back in the 90s with Lou Holtz, they had the Prop 48 guys and all this type of stuff and allow him to go grab some kids from JUCO. They totally don't do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Notre Dame way anymore, all that crap. But, those are real things that they're dealing with. It's self-inflicted, but it's real. Like Penn State and Michigan, you can go out and recruit whomever you want, just like everybody else can.
And if you can't, that just means you're not as good as Urban Meyer and Ryan Day and the others. Now, he goes on to say, too, by the way, Devin Bush came from Florida. Okay.
Facts.
Now, if you want it, but that's fine. Cute little player. Steelers love it.
They just got Jennings, this big-time recruit from Orlando.
But you want to sit at the adult table, go get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Devin Bushes. Don't just get one and then say, "Oh man, look at us. We're doing what Urban." No, Urban, he got a lot of Devin Bushes. All right, we're out of time. Dude, what are you, a Michigan fan? Look at this. Michigan fans already saying
we're out of time.
Milton is better than Fields. Delusional. Shaw says Michigan has that with their academics. Okay. Okay. We're done. Like I can't. So now we're smarter than you. That Michigan can't do what Ohio State can. So now we're just going to do, well, academics are better.
Come on. Hey, look, man, like I always say, man, if you want a kid in your school, you get them in your school.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Find someone to take their test for them. You do what you got to do.
Shouts out to D Rose.
We'll be back in a little bit. Hey, let's talk about college basketball. Tonight, the debut of Talking Out Loud, the new Dayton Flyers show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, hosted by Sully. Sully joins us next. We'll talk about the Dayton Flyers' historic recruiting week. Of course, 2 top 50 players for the class of 2021. Sully joins us next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with rain, a high near 48. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 38. And tomorrow is going to be mostly cloudy with a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle, your local authorized Hustler mower dealer. Stop in today and see the Hustler Fast Track, the Hustler X1, and the Hustler Super Z. Have you played Turtle Creek Golf Course yet? Formerly Greenville Country Club, Turtle Creek has local, state, and national recognition for excellence. They also have some world-class facilities, like the famous Thirsty Turtle Lounge, a full-service restaurant and bar with seating for up to 200 guests. Come try the Turtle's famous chicken wings, or Fish Fridays, Steak Saturdays, or Sunday brunch. Learn more at www.turtlecreekon36.com. Turtle Creek Golf Course and the Thirsty Turtle Lounge. Great food, great golf, and a great experience.
My husband, Alex Hussey, was hit by an IED in Afghanistan.
I was point man in foot patrol, and I stopped on the bomb. Lost my legs and left hand in an explosion.
DAV helps veterans of every generation to get the benefits they've earned.
To see Alex learning to snow ski, that's life-changing.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories great and small.
This has meant so much. Thank you, DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Other banks charge fees on savings and checking accounts. Doesn't sound good, does it? Capital One reimagined banking. So it sounds more like this. With Capital One, you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. Get started now at a Capital One location or online. Sound good to you? This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Approval required. Offered by Capital One and a member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
For DIY projects, you know the Home Depot's always in your corner. Now with our mobile app, it can also be in the palm of your hand with digital tools like image search. Snap a picture of something. It'll recognize it and serve up product suggestions in seconds. And our product locator will check availability and lead you right to it. The Home Depot mobile app. Download it today to get started. Only from the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Strict attention to detail. That's what sets Kubota construction equipment apart. It's how we maximize performance, increase strength, and give you the dependability you demand. We engineer our equipment precisely at every level. It's what makes us a leader. Save up to $11,000 on construction equipment or get 0% APR financing for 60 months after December 31st, 2020. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Cleanings, checkups, and cavities? Have Dr. Chang's dental practice at capacity.
Patient in room 1 is getting a root canal. The x-rays in room 2 are going to have to wait. We're down to 1 hygienist.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm attorney David Brannon, and I'm running for Montgomery County Probate Court Judge on November 3rd. If you ever get married, claim an inheritance, or care for aging parents, you may find yourself in need of the probate court. Over the past 15 years, I've worked hard to protect those in need and to get the right answers for families in probate court. I am also certified by the Ohio State Bar Association as a specialist in probate law. I understand that families need speedy and fair decisions from the probate court. I have the dedication and compassion to be there for your family, so please vote for me, David Brannon, November 3rd. I am David Brannon, and I approve this message.
Welcome to another Fantastic Four golf hole experience with the Buy Golf for Half Bogey Boys.
We're at Windy Knoll Golf Club today in Springfield, Ohio, known as Central Ohio's premier link-style golf course. Not only is this a great test of golf, it's also one of the most unique courses that you'll see, with full-size horse sculptures and black rail fencing all over the course. We've reached the tee at the 17th hole. This is a drivable par 4, but not for me, of course. I do manage, though, to sneak my drive in between the 4 different bunkers that protect the green. That's a victory in itself. I'm about 100 yards out and I hit a beautiful wedge to about 7 feet from the cup. This could be my hole. I slide my putt into the right side of the cup for a birdie. Wow, that's why I play golf. You need to play this course. Get your pals together and come out to Windy Knoll Golf Club. Stay tuned for more Fantastic Four golf hole experiences with the Buy Golf for Half Bogey Boys. See you at the next hole.
Visit buygolfforhalf.com for half-price golf packages from Windy Knoll and other great local golf courses around the Miami Valley.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contests and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Good luck. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
You know, I know that social media is great for talk shows and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but my ADD just does not allow me to focus on both. I get like squirrel. Every time I get distracted.
Oh, Kenner.
I don't buy into that, the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. I mean, it's a rivalry, yes, but I don't buy into the whole, I'm going to take a shot at Michigan every time I can just to be cool like the other Buckeye. I don't get into that. If a shot presents itself, I'm going to take it. All right. I'm not a high volume shooter. I'm not going to force my shots. I'm going to make sure my feet are set, beef, beef. What's beef?
I don't know.
Balance, elbow, eyes, follow through. Beef, my friend. All right,
Onions.
beef. I'm going to be patient with my shot. I'm going to make sure that it's a good shot. Okay. So I don't do the whole I'm going to take shots at Michigan just to take shots at Michigan. But when they piss me off, they say weird things like how they think they're better than Penn State, who's always ranked in the they're always contending for college football playoff. They're always ranked high. I don't want to hear that. No, not doing it. Not doing it. My blood pressure's going up, so we're going to step away from college football talk, and let's talk a little college basketball tonight. I'm excited. We're going to debut Talking Out Loud again every Thursday at 6 o'clock, hosted by Sully, and he joins us now. Now, you've been on the show before, Sully, but again, we're bringing you on. We're debuting your show tonight. I'm pumped to have you on today. What's up, man?
I'm looking forward to it. You guys have been taking it on the chin today. You had somebody was calling you fat earlier, and then you guys were I cannot believe that somebody actually said that they would take Jim Harbaugh over James Franklin and my Penn State Nittany Lions. Because as well as anybody, that I'm a diehard Penn Stater to go along with my UD basketball fandom. And I think it's outwardly preposterous that someone would suggest such a thing.
Now, let's be clear. In James Franklin, I'll take him over Harbaugh. I'll take Penn State over Michigan. James Franklin drives me nuts because they always are ranked pretty well. I mean, he has them up where they're supposed to be. They lose the big games, and it drives me nuts. I'm eventually you got to win those. You can't be like the Bengals where you lose all these one-possession games and take, we're almost going to do it. You got to do it eventually.
Listen, it's real simple in this argument. Has Harbaugh been to a Rose Bowl? Has he won the Big Ten? No, he stays in third place. Argument over.
Yeah, but he has that recruiting class that's higher than Penn State's, which means you lose with more talent. That was my whole argument. Michigan loses with more talent then. And James Franklin does more with less talent than Michigan, I guess. So there's that.
Well, Well, it's an easy transition because somebody else has been hot on the recruiting trail, and it ain't football. It's Anthony Grant and these Dayton Flyers on the basketball recruiting trail, my friend.
Absolutely. And you're going to talk about that tonight again one more time, the debut of Talking Out Loud every Thursday. Now, Talking Out Loud, you've been doing this Dayton Flyers podcast for a while. You debuted the Talking Out Loud podcast, which was just an extension of what you were doing last year. You changed the brand of it and everything. It's yours, and it's taken off. You've had Scott Van Pelt. You've had so many big names on this thing. Like, it's really cool watching it take off the way it has, and we're so pumped to have it here on the station now.
Well, yeah, man, I obviously have you to thank. We came up with this idea, I guess it was last season, whenever we started doing these interviews about Dayton Flyers basketball, to just, have a segment on the radio station where it's just dedicated to the Flyers. You certainly can't be talking about them all the time. It's the middle of football season, and college basketball isn't all that popular until about Thanksgiving, December, and then January, February really ramps up heading into March. But, yeah, you're right. I was doing the podcast for the last 4-ish years under the Blackburn Review name, and really I just kind of wanted to make the brand my own thing. I wanted to make the show my own thing, and I didn't want to be kind of held back by anything else. And so I just felt like starting fresh was the best option for me. Had the loyal fan base, always going to have that, and the listeners kind of came over with me fairly easily. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't because I just had some time on my hands. I got laid off from Rona, and then I just started thinking about my options. And here we are, a brand new podcast, and just in time for the season. We're about under 30 days away now.
Yeah, the problem is you bad choice of a team to talk about. There's nothing going on. Coach isn't good. The team's not good. Oh wait, that's actually not this team that you're talking about. So no, that's the thing too. Last year was it became a certain point where where were they ranked to start last? They weren't even ranked to start the year, were they?
No. I mean, they were ranked the day they came home from Maui last year.
And rightfully so. But it was and I remember everyone right away was pissed off because they weren't ranked right off the bat. And of course, me, I'm like, oh my God, just stop. They haven't done anything yet. Let them go do something first. When they come back from Maui, they'll be ranked. Sure enough, I didn't expect them to perform like that at Maui. I mean, my goodness.
Nobody did.
Yeah. And that's really when we all knew that, okay, the Flyers had something special. And as special as that season was, and the way that it just came to a complete stop, I mean, that was unfortunately, that was the headline of last year, and it washed out so many great things that happened. But you're starting to see the success of what happened last year already, come to fruition. Of course, I was negative at the beginning. I was like, Anthony Grant, what's taken so long? Why? I was expecting a recruiting bump. I was expecting last year, number 3 in the country. You were going to be number 1, number 1, rank in the NCAA tournament. You have Obi Toppin. How do you not have anything cooking right now? And then all of a sudden, the oven was primed and we're good to go. So he's off and rolling this week. 2 top 50 players for the class of 2021.
2 top 100 players. So there was a kid in, I think that the recruiting rankings were 40 and 90, but UD has never gotten 2 kids under the top 100 in the same class, and they've never had a top 40 kid. So, this was all really big stuff for the program. And I said this, and I will elaborate on the show, obviously, but you're starting to see all of the pieces come together one at a time. And what I mean by that was you had the success on the court. Dayton obviously has the facilities. They ramped up the arena with the renovation. Now Anthony Grant is an alum that has the wheels greased, and they're rolling. They're figuring out what type of player that they want to recruit. They're figuring out what type of system that they want to run moving forward. And the big point on my show this week is that Anthony Grant can go into every single recruit's living room, and well, not living room right now, it's a Zoom call, but he can be on every Zoom call pitching stability and stability in so many different aspects of the program. Stability that I'm not going to leave in a couple of years, just like every other college basketball program.
I'm going to stop you right there. Dayton Flyers fans need to do a better job of, just because a Power 5 Big Ten job opens up. Fans were worried about Penn State. Can we stop with that? No, Anthony Grant was not leaving to go to Penn State.
Penn State hasn't been Dayton has been a better basketball program than Penn State for 20 years. And the only reason I say that was because of how bad Dayton was in the 90s, not because Penn State was ever really a very good basketball program. There's a reason that I'm a good Penn State football fan and a diehard Dayton Flyers fan. I'm a UD alumni, but I never rooted for their basketball team for that reason. But anyways, you see my point. It gets a lot easier once you take these little steps. And now that he has everything behind him, he can just pitch stability. And I think that is the strongest thing that Dayton has going for him right now, because the recruits are very vocal in saying, we didn't come here just because of Obi. We didn't come here just because of last year's success. They chose Dayton because they see what is ahead of them. And that's exactly the kind of mentality I want in the program moving forward, because historically, Dayton fans and people around the program have always got caught up talking about the history and here's who we are. Who cares? It's about where you're going, not about where you've been.
Thank you. That's what I tried telling Bengals fans. They try, when I say, hey, you're 1-5-1, they're like, yeah, but remember we made the playoffs 5 straight years. I'm like, well, what does that have to do with now? That's why earlier I was joking. I'm like, hey, when I sit there, if we're struggling, when the Bengals are struggling, they like to point out, oh man, we used to be good. I'm like, well, I'm fat. I used to be skinny. I used to be skinny. That doesn't make me any less fat now. So no, I totally get it. It's all about, and by the way, and the sky's the limit for where this program can go right now. And the beauty part of it is we spend so much time talking about the Flyers and man, they need to go to the Big East. They need to get to a bigger conference. I'm not saying that they want to stay where they're at, but they could still accomplish what they ultimately want to, even staying where they're at. And of course, time will tell where they could potentially end up whenever that time comes.
I don't really seriously entertain all that Big East talk that people.
I like the American better than the Big East. I know I'm in the minority in that, but I respect the American Conference more the way it's built right now. But big picture, the Big East obviously is where you would like to end up at some point.
Well, yeah, but the American Conference will never be a fit for Dayton just because of the football aspect. I mean, they took a chance on Wichita State, and that hasn't really worked out for the Americans. So I doubt they would try to dip into that well
if
again.
You find a nicer coach, maybe it would have worked out better.
Yeah, insiders say that he is getting fired here fairly soon. That is insider information I'm breaking on the program right now. But I don't entertain the Big East discussion because, frankly, that ship sailed about 10 years ago. Number one, and number two, people are like, well, they took Xavier. It's like, well, Xavier dominated the A-10 for like 15 years. And people say, well, we belong in the Big East. We can't even dominate the A-10. I mean, we just did over this 1 year, but it was 1 year. I mean, the 2 years that preceded it, they were 13-5 and 8-10. I mean, those were rebuilding years after Archie left, but that's not dominating the A-10. Even the 4 years that Archie went to the tournament, they only won the A-10 on the back half of those 2 years. So, at what point has Dayton dominated the A-10 enough to warrant them making a jump to another conference? I don't really get it. And the final point I always make on this is, why do you want to go jump to another conference to play teams that are potentially beat us? And obviously you want to play the best teams, but what I mean by that is Dayton is perfectly suited to wipe the floor with the A-10 year in and year out. And frankly, that's what I want right now in the short term. So I'd stop people pretty quickly because, yeah, it'd be great. It would be more money for the program. The TV deal in the Big East is better. But, the water's fine right where they are right now, and they need to focus on dominating the pool that they're in.
I got to ask you about Obi. A lot of rumors about the Cleveland Cavaliers drafting him. Who do you think is going to be the best fit for him in the league?
Stay away, Cleveland. Stay away.
Well, okay. So who I think and who I want are two different things because I'm sitting in my home office right now, less than 1 mile from the United Center. So I would like Obi to come to Chicago because I can walk the games whenever I want.
He makes sense in Chicago, too, to a certain point.
Does.
Because of the coach now.
So I think with the Obi thing right now, where he lands, it really comes down to the draft order, right? I think he'd be a great fit or a dynamic fit in Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota is willing to take him at number one. Golden State has said that they're very interested in him. And then Charlotte, I don't think makes a ton of sense. So I'll be honest. If Golden State does not take him at 2 and you don't see anybody trade up, I think his shot at going to the Bulls is 75%. I think it's pretty high because I just think he fits the Bulls, and I think that the Bulls, they've had the propensity over the years to do splashy things. They want to make headlines or just be this young, fun team. It always backfires, and they've always been kind of in that front office since Jordan left, but. You see what I'm getting at? Obi's the perfect, make headline splash rookie that they can put in there and they can sell tickets because they're going to stink this year. So you might as well have a guy that can cram the ball into the floor if you're going to stink, right?
All right, good stuff, man. Hey, we're going to do this every week. Every week we're going to hang out, of course, and eventually we're going to get to the point where we're talking about actual games going on. And, the one thing about COVID and everything and impacting the schedules, I was worried about UD getting enough non-con games, and not enough non-con games, quality non-con games, and to build a NCAA tournament resume, because I was worried about if the A-10 would provide enough to be able to build that. But you talked about it in a previous podcast I listened to, this might be one of the best non-con schedules that they've had. We only have about 60 seconds, but just comment on that, and then of course preview tonight's episode of Talking Out Loud coming up here in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect transition, man. I am actually going to cover this on the last 5 minutes of the program, on the last part of the hour. But UD is going to get a great tournament in South Dakota. They have Ole Miss and SMU coming to the arena, and they're going down to Atlanta to play Mississippi State. So this is definitely the best non-con schedule they've had in at least the last 10 years. And it came together because of COVID. Imagine that, man.
All right, good stuff. Sully, appreciate your time, man. Take care. And I can't wait to hear your show coming up here in 10 minutes, man. Take care.
Always a pleasure, fellas. Take care.
Peace.
All right, so Sully's coming up next. Talking Out Loud, the debut of Talking Out Loud right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. If you're a Dayton Flyer basketball fan, you do not want to miss this. Brooks Hall is going to be the guest with Sully coming up here at the top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Talking Out Loud coming up next. That wraps it up for us. Tomorrow we'll do our picks. Looking forward to that.
I'm going to win.
Bengals losing, Browns winning. I mean, we know how this goes. Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.